Chapter 13-15. The guards of the palace gathered from all directions. They gathered outside the Guan Osprey Palace with torches in their hands as they discussed what was happening. But without Emo Chuan's orders, no one dared to barge in. In the courtyard, the red-clothed young master who had been blasted into cinders was lying on the ground like a pile of mud. He had been hit by 2 thunderbolt bullets, but he was not heavily injured. The shock in his heart was much more serious than his body. Qin Ning raised her gun again and aimed at him. The red-clothed young master felt a chill run down his back and his heart tightened. Now he did not dare look down on the strange thing in Qin Ning's hand. What kind of powerful hidden weapon was this? He had never seen or heard of it before. Even with his speed he couldn't dodge it. Those 2 thunderous sounds had already destroyed 2 of his 3 souls. Now that he saw Qin Ning aim that strange thing at him again, he couldn't help shouting, Don't hit my face." The mask on his face had been blasted into pieces. If she hit him again, his face would be completely ruined. "Sissy, I'll ask one question and you'll answer one. If there's even half a sentence that isn't true, I'll blast you into a watermelon." Qin Ning raised her gun and spoke in a powerful voice. The red-clothed young master thought to himself, this retribution really came quickly. He had just said the same thing to Xiao Ru and now it was his turn. But he did not dare not answer. "Ask," he said through gritted teeth. "The people in my palace, were you the one who killed them?" Qin Ning stared at him with bright eyes. His face was completely black and his bright red robe was filled with holes from the thunderbolt bullets. He looked just like a beggar. But she knew that this person who looked even worse than a beggar was very strong and had a ruthless heart. If she was the slightest bit careless, she would be bitten by him. "Yes," the red-clothed young master calmly admitted, "they were all killed by me. They were just ants. You wouldn't take revenge for these ants, right? My maid Xiao Ru, were you the one who kidnapped her?" Qin Ning stared at him. "Yes." He suddenly noticed that Qin Ning's eyes turned cold. Her fingers slightly moved and he immediately shouted, "But I didn't touch her. She didn't even lose a single hair. I just wanted to scare you. Not a single hair lost? Then what is this?" Qin Ning picked up the hair he had placed on her pillow and asked, This. The red-clothed young master's back was covered in sweat. He wanted to vomit blood from regret. Why did he cut off that stupid girl's hair? He rolled his eyes and suddenly said, "If you let me go, I'll let her go. I promise I'll do what I say. If you kill me, then your beloved little girl won't be able to live." His lips curled into a sinister smile as he glared at Qin Ning. He was really intimidated by the girl in front of him. So what if she had an incomparably powerful concealed weapon? He was holding the thing that she cared about the most in his hand. As long as he did not tell her Xiao of Xiao, he would not did would be. Just like that, the red-robed young master was immediately filled with courage. He even stood up without fear and straightened his back. "I'll say it again. Throw that thing in your hand over and this young master will not touch your maid. Otherwise," before he could finish. Chapter 13-16. The already tattered red-clothed young master was hit in the chest by another thunderbolt bullet. The gunpowder exploded and sent him tumbling a few times. He flew over the high courtyard wall and with a "pah" sound, he landed like a dead fish in front of the guards holding torches. "What is this thing? It looks like a person. It's most likely an assassin. Capture him." The guards immediately swarmed forward and quickly tied up the red-robed young master. The red-clothed young master was dizzy from the explosions. Only when he found out that he had been tied up like a dumpling did he come back to his senses. His eyes went wide. He couldn't believe that he had actually been captured. He had actually fallen into the hands of a group of guards that were dumber than pigs? This was a great humiliation. This was simply a great humiliation. His eyes rolled back and he actually fainted from anger. The guards didn't care if he really fainted or not. In any case, this fellow was as black as a charcoal and didn't look like a good person at first glance. He had also flown out of the Empress palace, so if he wasn't an assassin, then what was he? Although they couldn't understand how the 3 thunderous sounds had come from Guan Osprey Palace, if they caught the assassin, then it would be a great merit. At this time, Su Jin rushed over with several guards. When she saw the red-clothed young master being tied up like a dumpling by the guards, she was shocked. "What happened? Who is this fellow?" All of the guards recognized Su Jin, so one of them immediately replied respectfully, reporting to Auntie Su Jin, "This fellow flew out of Guan Osprey Palace. We could tell he wasn't a good person at first glance and was definitely an assassin who had broken into the palace, so we immediately took him down. However, before we could interrogate him, he fainted." Then what were those three loud noises just now? Where are the Emperor and the Empress? Su Jin looked at the red-clothed young master. She didn't pay much attention to this fellow who was darker than a charcoal and worse off than a beggar. What she cared about the most was Mo Chuan and Chen Ning's safety. The guards looked at each other in blank dismay and then lowered their heads. We didn't have the Emperor's orders, so we didn't dare break into Guan Osprey Palace. We don't know the situation of the Emperor and the Empress. Su Jin couldn't help stomping her feet and secretly cursing. What a bunch of idiots. I'll go in and take a look. She went forward and knocked on the door. Who would have thought that with a gentle push, the palace doors would open from the inside? Su Jin was shocked. When she looked over, she saw Chen Ning standing in front of the door, looking at her with a calm expression. She was instantly pleasantly surprised. Empress, are you all right? I'm fine. Thank you, Aunt Su Jin, for your concern. Did you catch the assassin? Chen Ning had already put away her wooden spear. Her hands were empty as she stood there with a calm expression. Su Chin for Chin. Su Jin replied. She couldn't help looking over Chen Ning again. She was still a bit worried as she asked, Empress, what happened just now? Is the Emperor? Is he fine? His Majesty is fine. Aunt Su Jin, did the Empress Dowager send you? Was it because the noise just now was too loud and alerted the Empress Dowager? It's all my fault for making too much noise while catching the assassin. It won't happen again. Go and report to the Empress Dowager that His Majesty is fine and the assassin has been caught. Chin said. Hearing this, Su Jin and the guards behind her almost dropped their jaws. Chapter 13-17. Chen Ning gave a faint smile and nodded, but she didn't say anything. This wooden spear was her secret weapon, so naturally the fewer people that knew about it, the better. Otherwise, the next time she used it, the enemy would be on guard and it wouldn't be as effective. Aunt Su Jin, there's nothing else here. The sun is about to rise, so you should quickly report to the Empress Dowager and let her rest early. Although Su Jin still had a stomach full of questions from Chen Ning's words, it was clear that she didn't want her to ask too much. So she nodded and left with the guards. Chen Ning finally looked away when she couldn't see her figure anymore. Her gaze fell onto the unconscious red-clothed young master and she said, I'm going to interrogate this assassin's background. You can all leave. Yes, Empress. The guards saluted her in unison and then retreated. In the blink of an eye, only Chen Ning and the tied-up red-clothed young master were left in front of the previously crowded Guan Osprey Palace. Chen Ning slowly walked in front of the red-clothed young master and stared at his face that she couldn't see clearly. The red-clothed young master's eyes were closed and he didn't move at all. If you keep pretending to be dead, do you believe that I won't give you another thunderbolt? Chen Ning suddenly gave a cold laugh. As soon as she said this, the red-clothed young master suddenly opened his eyes and cried out, Don't! Before he could close his mouth, he suddenly felt something in his mouth. It was smooth and slippery and he swallowed it down his throat. This. What is this? He looked at Chen Ning in shock and smacked his lips. He found that the thing he ate had an indescribable fishy smell and his heart turned cold. This thing is called the bone-transforming pill. I used the venom of 7 different kinds of poisonous snakes, the venom of 7 different kinds of poisonous insects, and the pollen of 7 different kinds of poisonous flowers to make it. It's very precious and there's only one in this world. I specially prepared it for you. How is it? Does it taste good? Chen Ning threw the empty bottle in her hand onto the ground and smiled at him. Bone-transforming pill? When the red-clothed young master heard this name, he felt a chill run down his spine. His eyes were filled with fear. He wasn't afraid of death, but he was afraid of falling into the enemy's hands. The enemy would use all sorts of methods to torture him until he didn't look like a human or a ghost. He wouldn't be able to beg for death. That would be the most terrifying thing. He opened his eyes wide and began to circulate his qi. He searched his stomach, trying to find that he wanted to vomit. Who would have thought that after circulating his qi for a long time, he would discover that his dantian was empty from beginning to end. The originally vigorous and abundant true qi had actually disappeared without a trace. His great shock brought with it an indescribable sense of panic. How could it be like this? You want to vomit? I advise you not to waste your energy. This bone-melting pill melts the moment it enters your mouth and takes effect very quickly. Right now, its medicinal effect has already entered your limbs and bones. Do you feel that your internal energy has disappeared? Chen Ning looked down at him from above and her lips curled into a faint smile. The sweeter her smiled, the more the red than her smile. The scene of her stripping him of his clothes and hanging him on the city gate replayed in his mind like a nightmare. During this period of time, she had become his nightmare. Chapter 13:18. What kind of method would she use to torture him this time? The red-clothed young master thought he was just thinking about it, but his mouth could not help but ask. You, how do you want to torture me? His voice trembled. Without internal energy he would become a cripple. A top assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion like him was naturally courageous. Death was nothing to him. What he was afraid of was not death, but the endless tricks this girl had. If he was stripped naked and hung on the city gate again, he would rather die immediately. Chin Ning's cold eyes fell onto his face. She could see the fear in his eyes. This guy was afraid, and the one he was afraid of was not others but herself. It seemed that the method of stripping him last time had given him a huge psychological shadow. What were men afraid of? They were not afraid of death. What they were most afraid of was losing face. Sometimes they would rather die than lose their face. They did not know that face was the most useless thing in the world, but men still desperately wanted to keep their face. Very good, since he was afraid of losing face, then she would make him lose face again. I have not finished my question. Let me ask you again. Are you from the Purple Heaven Pavilion? How do you know? The red-clothed young master's eyes were filled with surprise as he blurted out. It had to be known that the Purple Heaven Pavilion was very secretive in the martial world. They came and went without a trace. Although they made people tremble in fear, the number of people who could see them alive was very few, not to mention being recognized in front of their faces. Chin Ning could be said to be the only person alive who had ever mentioned the Purple Heaven Pavilion in front of him. I know a lot more than you do. Answer my questions honestly. That's right, I am from the Purple Heaven Pavilion. Since you know the name of the Purple Heaven Pavilion and still dare to offend me, do you know the consequences? The red-clothed young master quickly calmed down. He raised his chin and his tone became tough. When the people of the martial world mentioned the Purple Heaven Pavilion, who would not be scared to death? Being entangled by the people of the Purple Heaven Pavilion was the beginning of a lifetime of nightmare. Chin Ning looked at him and disdainfully curled her lips. Look at your arrogant and careless appearance. You think being a member of the Purple Heaven Pavilion is a glorious thing. Don't you know that the people of the Purple Heaven Pavilion are like street rats that everyone wants to kill? You are not ashamed but proud of it. Do you know how to write the word shame? You. The red-robed young master was once again angered to the point of speechlessness. He glared at her, looking like he wanted to swallow her whole. Anyone who dared to insult the Purple Heaven Pavilion in this world had to die. You're already a stutterer, so don't be so arrogant. If the wind cuts your tongue again you'll stutter even more. Chin Ning gave a cold laugh. After he heard this, the red-clothed young master almost fainted. It took him a while to recover. Chin Ning. This young master is not a stutterer. He finally roared out with a red face and neck. If you're not stuttering then you're not stuttering. Do you have to be so loud? So noisy, shut up. Chin Ning impatiently took out her wooden spear and pointed it at his mouth. Chin. Alright, let's see if your roar is louder or if my thunderbolt bomb is louder. When the red-robed young master saw the spear, his expression changed. Chapter 13:19. Whatever I ask you will answer. If you say one more word of nonsense, I will let you taste the taste of a thunderbolt. Do you understand? Nod your head if you understand. Chin Ning stared at him. She remembered that it was this guy in front of her that killed so many innocent people in her palace. Her heart couldn't help but burn with anger. She really wanted to shoot him in the head. It was a pity that the gun wasn't loaded with real bullets. Also, he was an expert in the Purple Cloud Pavilion. He definitely knew a lot of the Purple Cloud Pavilion's secrets. If she wanted to eradicate the Purple Cloud Pavilion that caused trouble in the martial world, she had to keep him alive and get information from his mouth. The red-clothed young master closed his mouth and nodded his head, indicating that he understood. He couldn't understand more. Very good, you are very smart. I hope you can continue to be smart. Now let me ask you, who wants to buy my life? Chin Ning asked. Although she and Mo Chuan had already guessed that the person who wanted to harm her was the Zhao Rong princess, there were still some mysteries that she couldn't solve. And this mystery, the person in front of her could definitely help her solve it. The red-clothed young master's lips moved, but he didn't say a single word. He definitely couldn't reveal the guest's information. This was the first rule of the Purple Cloud Pavilion. Anyone who violated this rule would die without a complete corpse. Although he was the young master of the Purple Cloud Pavilion, he definitely didn't dare violate the rules. You won't say? Fine, I won't use the thunderbolt to deal with you. The method of hanging people at the city gate last time was quite interesting. Why don't we do it again? But this time, it won't be a small city like last time. I will hang you at the east gate of the capital and write the words Purple Cloud Pavilion Thousand-Faced Young Master on your chest. Everyone who enters and exits the city gate will look up to you, Thousand-Faced Young Master. Thousand-Faced Young Master, you will soon be famous. Do you like it? Ning wasn't angry. Instead, she smiled and put away her wooden spear. Like your ancestors. The red-clothed young master cursed in his stomach, but his body couldn't help but tremble. Once he thought of the scene of being surrounded by a large group of people without any clothes, he wanted to dig a hole in the ground. At least the last time he was hung in front of the city gate, he looked like a 7 or 8-year-old child, so no one knew who he was. But this time was obviously different. If she really did write his identity on his chest and this news spread to the Purple Cloud Pavilion, then he really wouldn't have the face to live. Even if he died, he wouldn't have the face to see his ancestors. I'll talk. He didn't dare to be stubborn anymore. He took a deep breath and steeled his heart. It's Xiaorong Junju. It really was Xiaorong Princess. Although she knew the answer, Ning did not feel happy at all. Rather, she knit her brows. Only Xiaorong Junju, no one else? She asked again. Of course not. The rule of our Purple Cloud Pavilion is that if we receive money from others, we will eliminate disasters for them. As long as we accept a business deal, we will definitely not accept it if there is another customer who wants to do the same business and kill the same person. Bah, what kind of *T rules are these? It's just a dirty killing business. Do you think it's worth bragging about? Looks like you're not only a sissy but also a psychopath. Your values are also horribly twisted. Chapter 1320. This kind of person who treated people's lives like grass and killed people for fun, not feeling shame but feeling proud of himself, he simply deserved to die. Yesterday's Guanyu Palace filled with blood and corpses appeared in her mind. Everyone's lives had been taken by this killer in front of her. He had done this kind of crazy thing and still dared to shamelessly boast about it. She couldn't help feeling hatred in her heart. She raised her hand and slapped him across the face several times. Miss, you hit me well. To be slapped by such a beautiful girl a few times is my good fortune. The red-clothed young master endured the pain. His face was filled with a smile as he spoke in a flattering manner. Although he hated being slapped in the face the most, compared to being stripped naked and hung on the city gate, being slapped a few times by her slender, jade-like hands was really nothing. Furthermore, it was only the two of them right now, and there was no one else to see his embarrassing state. Good fortune? Very good, then I'll slap you until your ancestors' graves smoke. Ning gave a cold laugh. Thinking about how Xiaoru had fallen into his hands, she didn't know what kind of torture she had suffered, so she did not hold back at all. After 7-8 slaps, the red-clothed young master's face was already swollen like a pig's head. Although she didn't have any internal energy, the red-clothed young master also didn't have any internal energy, so he couldn't circulate it. These slaps had split open his flesh and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, but he still had a smile on his face. Good hit. He was in so much pain that he sucked in air through his teeth. It was just a few slaps, he could endure it. It was better than all the other kinds of torture she could give him. You really won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. You're really stubborn. Since you think I hit you well, then I'll hit you to my heart's content. Ning felt that her hand was hurting, so she took off her shoes and used the soles of her shoes to hit his face. The red-clothed young master finally closed his mouth and no longer said that he hit her well. His entire face was burning hot like it was on fire. Half of it was from the slap and the other half was from embarrassment. Where's Xiaoru? What did you do to her? Ning was tired, so she stopped to take a breath. The red-clothed young master's teeth were knocked loose and his lips were swollen like sausages, but he did not dare not answer. Xiaoru? Miss Xiaoru is fine. I did not touch her at all. Xiaorong wanted to kill her. It was this young master who saved her. He wanted to curry favor with Ning, but when Ning heard this, she became even angrier. She raised her shoe and slammed it down again. You saved her? How dare you say that? Where did you take her? Was it Duke Ning's mansion? You put her in a quagmire and a tiger's den, and you still have the nerve to come here to claim credit? Are you stupid? Idiot, sissy, pervert. The red-clothed young master was beaten silly. He endured the pain and followed Ning's words. Yes. I'm an idiot, I'm a sissy, I'm a pervert. Miss, you hit me right. I shouldn't have offended Miss Xiaoru. All he wanted was not to be stripped naked and hung on the city gate. As for everything else, he didn't care. Miss, if you want to hit, can you hit somewhere else? As long as you don't hit my face again. He said with a long face. Chapter 1321. The more Ning spoke, the angrier she became. Her attacks became heavier and heavier. The red-clothed young master's heart was filled with complaints, but he did not dare say a single word. He gritted his teeth and endured it, but his heart was filled with complaints. It was just killing a few ants, it wasn't a big deal. But for the sake of those ant-like people, he had eaten so much of the soles of his shoes. His cheeks were swollen, and his pair of long and narrow phoenix eyes had become slits. Ning was finally tired and stopped. She put on her shoes and angrily took a few steps forward. I have to think about how to deal with you. If I just kill you like this, it would be letting you off easy, humph. The red-clothed young master's swollen eyes couldn't help following her. Every time she walked a few steps away, his heart would relax a bit. Every time she came closer, his heart would jump up again. His heart was like a marionette, being pulled by her every move. Ning suddenly stopped in front of him. The red-clothed young master's heart couldn't help beating faster and his breathing became rapid. His eyes stared right at her without blinking. His heart had already jumped into his throat. This was because he found that the most ruthless people in this world were not men, but rather women. This was because if a woman was ruthless, they would be even more ruthless than a man. I've thought of it, let's do it. Her eyes looked over his face that had been beaten beyond recognition and the corners of her lips slightly curled up. What? What do we do? Miss, how do you plan on dealing with this one? The red-clothed young master swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked in a fearful voice. Why should I tell you? Who do you think you are that I have to answer just because you ask? Shut your mouth for me. She glared at him and he immediately obediently closed his mouth, but his eyes still followed her. I don't know how Xiaoru is right now. If something happens to her, just you wait. Ning looked up at the sky. The sky was already turning white, but there was still no news of Xiaoru. Her heart couldn't help worrying. The red-clothed young master bitterly smiled in his heart, but he did not dare say anything. He did not know how much regret he was feeling right now. He really should not have kidnapped that stupid girl. Not only did he not get a single word out of that girl's mouth, he had also eaten a lot of shoe soles. This was simply a huge loss. The only thing he was glad about was that he didn't give Xiaoru to the Zhaorong princess. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been tortured by this girl called Ning in front of him. This girl was simply the most ruthless, most difficult woman he had ever seen in his life. This girl was simply the most ruthless, difficult woman he had ever seen in his life. He was regretting more and more that he should not have underestimated this opponent. Although she was a woman, although she did not know martial arts, he was clearly stronger than her by 108,000 li. But he did not know why. Every time he would somehow fall into her trap, fall into her hands and be at her mercy. If this were to spread to the Purple Heaven Pavilion, where would he, the thousand-faced young master's face be? The red-clothed young master's expression was he. The red-clothed young master looked he said. When the red-clothed young master's fingers touched her belt again, she fainted from fright. She did not know how long she had been unconscious or how much time had passed. She did not want to wake up, she would rather stay unconscious like this. That way she would not have to face that embarrassing scene. Chapter 1322. Xiaoru was still cursing the red-clothed young master in her unconscious state. She gritted her teeth and tightly clenched her fists. If he really stripped her naked and hung her in front of the city gates, she would kill herself. After she died, she would turn into an evil spirit and come find this red-clothed demon for his life. While she was unconscious, she could vaguely hear someone calling her name. Xiaoru. Miss Xiaoru, wake up. It was very similar to the red-clothed demon's voice. Bastard. Damn. He did such a disgusting thing to her and he still had the face to call her name. Xiaoru had not even completely opened her eyes when she forcefully punched the blurry face in front of her. It hit the bridge of the nose. Demon white-eyed wolf, I'll stake it all with you. I'll beat you to death. Crying and screaming, she rushed up and slapped his face several times in a row. After slapping it, she was stunned. Her raised hand stopped in midair as she stared at the man in front of her in a daze, looking like she had seen a ghost. Zhui Feng, why is it you? Why are you here? I thought it was that red-clothed demon, so. She stuttered as she spoke with an embarrassed expression on her face. Zhui Feng's nose had been punched and 2 streams of blood flowed down. His cheeks were both red and purple, filled with her finger marks. Although she did not know martial arts, she had used a lot of strength in her anger. Zhui Feng was caught off guard and adding in the fact that he never thought Xiaoru would make a move against him, he was completely stunned. It wasn't until now that he came back to his senses. Miss Xiaoru, you. Why did you hit me? He was filled with anger and shock. He had come to save her with good intentions, but he never thought that he would receive a beating from her. I hit the wrong person. I thought you were that bad person. Xuefeng, does your face hurt? Xiaoru's face turned red to her ears and her heart was filled with regret. She had already forgotten about her hatred towards Xuefeng. When she saw Xuefeng, her heart was filled with joy like a wave. This feeling of being able to escape from death's door was simply too blissful. Xuefeng rubbed his cheeks. He had been slapped several times, how could it not hurt? But a man's natural dignity did not allow him to admit it. Even if it hurt, he could not say it. Miss Xiaoru, are you hurt? Can you walk? He asked. Xiaoru looked at his face and suddenly began to cry. You came to save me, but I hit your face like this. It's all my fault, I can't do anything right. I'm so stupid, woo woo. I don't have the face to see the young miss. Woo woo woo. Xuefeng did not know what to do from her crying, not knowing what to do. He did not know what to do. He not say a single word. He did not know what he meant. Xiaoru cried until her nose was running. She grabbed a piece of cloth and wiped her tears before forcefully blowing her nose. Xuefeng's face suddenly turned green. He stared at the cloth covered with snot and tears, and the tears in his heart almost flowed out. She actually used his clothes to wipe her snot. He resisted the urge to go berserk and said dryly, Don't cry. We have to leave this place quickly. If you cry again, people will find out that we can't leave. This sentence was very effective. When Xiaoru heard this, she immediately stopped crying. Chapter 1323. Xuefeng nodded and then said, The Emperor also came. What? The Emperor personally came to save me? Xiaoru's eyes popped out in shock. Then her little face turned red from excitement and her eyes lit up. The Emperor is really good, he is too good to me. I'm so touched. Xuefeng saw this and his heart suddenly filled with an uncomfortable feeling. The Emperor was only keeping a lookout for him outside. The one who took the risk to come in and save him was him, but this last didn't even say a word of thanks to him. Instead, she mistook him for someone else and gave him a beating. He had no one to complain about this grievance. Since you're not injured, let's quickly return to the palace. The Empress is very worried about you. Xuefeng suddenly said, Miss Xiaoru, this one has been rude. Rude? What rude? Xiaoru had a stunned expression. Xuefeng no longer said anything. He reached out with a finger and hit her mute acupuncture point. Then he grabbed a sheet from the side and wrapped it around her. He carried her on his shoulder like a sack and under the cover of the night, he left the Duke Ning Palace without anyone noticing. Mo Chuan had changed into a set of black clothes and was standing guard outside the courtyard, looking in the direction of the palace. He had already heard 3 thunderous sounds coming from that direction. He thought that with such a large movement, it couldn't have been caused by Xiao Ning, right? Saving Xiaoru didn't require him to personally make a move, but he knew that Xiaoru was the person Chen Ning cared about the most. If something happened to Xiaoru, she would be very sad, so he came with Xuefeng. If the Purple Heaven Pavilion assassin did not go to the palace like Chen Ning expected and stayed in the Duke Ning Palace, then he and Xuefeng would not let the assassin escape. At this time he saw Xuefeng carrying a person over the wall and asked, Did you succeed? Xuefeng nodded. This one will return to the palace first, you can follow. After Mo Chuan said this, he moved and flew towards the palace. His figure quickly disappeared into the night, his movement technique was simply unbelievable fast. Xuefeng had always been proud of his Qinggong, but seeing Mo Chuan's Qinggong, he couldn't help secretly admiring it. He carried Xiaoru and took a deep breath. He sped up and followed Mo Chuan. When Mo Chuan arrived at the Guanyu Palace, he found that the entire palace was silent. There was no movement at all, as if nothing had happened. He couldn't help feeling surprised. He had clearly heard the sound coming from the palace. Could it be that the Purple Heaven Pavilion assassin did not appear? Or did something happen to her? He jumped directly from the roof into the courtyard and pushed open the door to the bedchamber. Ning? He called out. The room was empty. No one answered and Chen Ning's figure was nowhere to be seen. Mo Chuan's heart immediately jumped. He quickly looked around the room and searched every corner, but he couldn't find Chen Ning. Not Chen Ning's figure, there was not even one. There. Ning. Not only was there no trace of Chen Ning, there was not even a single palace maid or eunuch. Mo Chuan suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. Feng. The scene of yesterday's courtyard filled with corpses suddenly appeared in his mind. It was like he had seen that scene again. That Purple Heaven Pavilion assassin, who was ruthless and numb to killing, charged into Guan Osprey Palace as if there was no one there and began a massacre without the slightest scruple. Chapter 1324. Mo Chuan gave a cold shiver and did not dare think about it any longer. He suddenly felt very, very regretful. Why did he agree to her request? Why did he evacuate half of the hidden guards? Why didn't he stay by her side? Mo Chuan. When he was filled with pain, regret, shock, and fear, he heard a voice that was even more beautiful than the most beautiful music in the world. That was her voice. She was still alive. Then he saw her. The first rays of the morning sun rose and she was standing in front of the palace gates, bathing in the morning mist. She revealed a smile to him, just like a fairy wearing a veil, stepping into the mortal world. He rubbed his eyes, almost not daring to believe it. She smiled and walked over to him step by step until she was in front of him. Ning, are you all right? Where did you go? When I came back and saw that you weren't in the palace, I thought something happened to you. He forcefully held her hand. Her palm was soft and warm, carrying her unique fragrance. I'm fine, nothing happened to me. It's just that I made a lot of noise last night while catching the assassins, making the Empress Dowager unable to sleep. I just went to the Peaceful Life Palace to ask for forgiveness from the Empress Dowager, she said with a smile. Hearing this, Mo Chuan's heart finally fell down. Is mother fine? She's fine, she was just a bit frightened. I went to ask for forgiveness from the Empress Dowager, but the Empress Dowager was very unhappy and kicked me out without saying a word. She stuck out her tongue as she spoke, but her face revealed a smile as if she didn't care. Ning, mother has a problem with insomnia, so if she doesn't sleep well, her temper will be a bit bigger. Don't be angry at mother, Mo Chuan said with an apologetic voice. He knew that after Zhao Rong Princess returned to the capital, Empress Dowager Zhou's heart had other thoughts, so she always found Chen Ning unpleasing to the eye, picking on Chen Ning's faults. I'm not angry, this matter was my fault in the first place. I woke the Empress Dowager, so I went to ask for forgiveness early in the morning. I'll ask my master to see if there is any good medicine that can make the Empress Dowager sleep until dawn without any harm to her body. My master's medical skills are this high, he must have a way. Mo Chuan revealed a smile and lovingly pinched her nose. You're this filial to mother, I'll tell her about it. I'd better not. Now the Empress Dowager doesn't like to see me. If she knows that I asked my master for the medicine, she might directly throw it out and not take it. Wouldn't it be a waste of my efforts? All right, then I won't tell mother, but this is wrong to you. Chen Ning shook her head with a smile. Where did Xiao Ru go? Mo Chuan said. She looked behind Mo Chuan and found that there was no one there. She couldn't help revealing a disappointed expression. Mo Xiao, that damn sissy, he said Xiao Ru was in the Duke Ning Palace, does he dare lie to me? She angrily stomped her foot. I'll find him to settle this debt. Sissy, what sissy? Mo Chuan was confused hearing this. Chen Ning did not even have time to reply before she heard a voice filled with tears of joy. Young miss. Chapter 1325. Xiao Ru. Chen Ning called out in a surprised and happy voice as she walked forward. Young miss. I'm back, I've seen you again. Xiao Ru cried as she threw herself into her embrace. Chen Ning rubbed her black-haired head and her eyes couldn't help becoming wet. Although the two of them had only been separated for a day and a night, it was like they had been separated by life and death. Young miss, this servant thought that I would never see young miss again. Woo, that red-clothed demon was too terrifying. He killed so many people without even blinking. This servant was very scared and wanted to run out to report this to you, but I was caught by that demon. He is too bad. This servant hates him to death. Xiao Ru fell into Chen Ning's embrace as she sobbed. She cried while complaining about the evil deeds of the red-clothed young master. Chen Ning's heart jumped as she looked at Xiao Ru in surprise. Seeing that her clothes were disheveled, her belt was open, and her belt was broken, she was even more shocked. That red-clothed sissy wouldn't have done something bad to her, right? Xiao Ru, don't cry. Let's go back to the room and slowly talk about it, she said in a soft voice as she pulled Xiao Ru's hand into the room. This matter was related to Xiao Ru's reputation, so she couldn't ask Xiao Ru in front of Mo Chuan and Jue Feng. Woo, young miss, you don't know how evil that red-clothed demon is. He did to me. Xiao Ru's face turned red and she began to cry even louder. Chen Ning's heart trembled as she quickly said, I know. Let's go into the room and talk. She was afraid that something would really happen and Xiao Ru would say it out loud. If Mo Chuan and Jue Feng heard this, How could she live in the future? Young miss, do you know? Do you know that the red-clothed demon wanted to take revenge on me? He said that he would take off my clothes and hang me on the city gate. Woo, that bastard, he's so bad. He even tore off my belt. I was so scared that I fainted. Xiaoru sobbed as she spoke. Qinning couldn't help letting out a sigh. Her heart that had been in her throat finally fell to the ground. So that red-clothed sissy was just trying to scare Xiaoru, making her think that Xiaoru had been bullied. If that red-clothed sissy had really done anything to Xiaoru, she would not let him off. I know he is a bad person. Xiaoru, you can relax, he won't bully you anymore. Let's go inside and you can slowly tell me how he bullied you. You can't leave out a single word and tell me everything. I will definitely help you vent your anger. Xiaoru sobbed a bit and wiped her tears as she said, after that, I fainted. When I woke up, Zhui Feng had already come to save me and I never saw that bad person again. Young miss, he asked me about you, asking me what you liked and didn't like, but I didn't tell him a single word. Xiaoning. Xiaoru, she tilted her head up proudly. Qinning's heart was moved. She stroked her hair and said, you really are my good little sister, but you can't be like this in the future. Whatever he asks you have to answer. I don't want him to hurt you, so you can be assured that he won't hurt me. He has already fallen into my hands. Chapter 1326. It's true, I'm not lying to you. But you're very tired right now and you've been frightened, so you need to take a bath and sleep. If there's anything else, we'll talk about it when you wake up. Qinning pulled her hand and brought her into her room. Then she called people over and had them prepare water for Xiaoru to take a bath. After talking to Xiaoru for a while, she was completely at ease. She knew that Xiaoru was not injured or humiliated. It seemed like that red-clothed sissy did not lie. He did not make things difficult for Xiaoru and only scared her unconscious. But even like this, she could not let him go. The dozens of bloody lives in her palace were personally killed by him. After comforting Xiaoru, she sent her to bed. After seeing her close her eyes and fall asleep, Qinning quietly walked out of the room. Zhui Feng, what happened to your face? Were you hit by someone? She finally noticed the red and purple finger marks on Zhui Feng's face. It was clear that he had been slapped several times and she couldn't help feeling surprised. With Zhui Feng's martial arts, who could hit his face? Could it be Emo Chuan? She looked over at Emo Chuan. Emo Chuan had his hands behind his back and stared at her. His meaning was that he was that bored? Naturally, he knew where the finger marks on Zhui Feng's face came from. When Zhui Feng went in to save people, his face was still fine, but when he carried Xiaoru out, there were a few more marks on his face. If it wasn't Xiaoru who hit him, then there was no other person. Only he knew that men cared about their face, so he knew this in his heart and did not ask. This subordinate. This subordinate didn't see where I was going and hit the door. It hit. Zhui Feng had an awkward look on his face as he stuttered out. Qinning suspiciously looked at him. He was clearly hit by someone, but why didn't Zhui Feng say anything? Was he protecting the person who hit him? Ku Zhui Feng, there's nothing else here, you can leave first. Emo Chuan gave a soft cough and helped this loyal subordinate escape because Zhui Feng's face was already redder than a cooked prawn. Yes, Emperor. Zhui Feng let out a sigh of relief. After bowing to the two of them, his figure disappeared. You caught the Purple Heaven Pavilion assassin? Is he alive? Emo Chuan asked. Of course he's alive. Killing him like this is too easy for him. Qinning hatefully said. Hearing this, Emo Chuan's calm face couldn't help revealing a surprised expression. Although he knew that she was already prepared, the other party was from Purple Heaven Pavilion. Their abilities were second to none. Even he didn't have the confidence to capture them alive. But she, a girl who didn't know martial arts, was actually able to capture a killer from Purple Heaven Pavilion alive. If he did not hear it with his own ears, he would never have believed it. If he did not hear it himself, he never would have believed it. He's in the box over there. I haven't figured out how to deal with him. You came back at the right time. Tell me, do you want to kill him or do you want him to spit out the location of Purple Cloud Pavilion's lair, and then you can take people to exterminate this sinful abyss and get rid of evil for Jianghu? Emo Chuan couldn't help taking in a cold breath and patting her head. Chapter 1327. After Emo Chuan said this, he looked at the large wooden box in the yard and slowly walked over. He's in there? Yes. Qinning nodded. I just went to pay my respects to the Empress Dowager and locked him in the box. In this short amount of time he wouldn't have suffocated to death. Emo Chuan, you can ask whatever you want, he has already been completely subdued by me. He will answer whatever you ask and he won't dare to say a single lie. She remembered the fear in the red-clothed young master's eyes when he saw her, and she couldn't help proudly raising her nose. Mo Chuan was both surprised and amused. How did you do this, girl? It had to be known that the assassins of Purple Heaven Pavilion were rarely seen. After they completed their mission, they would quickly disappear. Moreover, their methods of killing were very clean, not leaving a single trace. If they failed their mission and were accidentally captured, the first thing they would do would be to commit suicide by taking poison. They would definitely not reveal any information about Purple Heaven Pavilion. So although the people of Jianghu hated Purple Heaven Pavilion to the bone, they were helpless against them. It wasn't that hard. I just used the weapon Master made for me to shoot him 3 times and he obediently asked me everything. Of course, I also gave him a bone-transforming pill to absorb all the internal energy in his body, so even if he wanted to die, he wouldn't be able to. Qin Ning smiled as she took out the wooden spear and handed it over to Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan didn't bother looking at the assassin. His attention was completely focused on the wooden spear in Qin Ning's hand. What kind of weapon is this? Why does it look so strange? He took the wooden spear and weighed it in his hand. He found that it was very light and didn't have any weight. He also didn't see anything strange about it. This weapon is called a pistol. Its power is very strong and it's very easy to use. There are 10 thunderbolt bullets in the barrel. It was specially made by me. I know you can't hold the gun like this. You have to hold here and then use the front sight to aim. Also, this little hook is called the trigger. You just need to use your index finger and the bullet will shoot out. Before Qin Ning finished speaking, Mo Chuan had already hooked his finger and there was a loud hong sound that sounded like a clap of thunder. The thunderbolt bullet hit one of the doors of Guan Osprey Palace without missing a beat. The door was sent flying and the solid wood was blasted off. The red paint fell off and the surface was filled with holes, completely unrecognizable. Mo Chuan was shocked. Looking at the wooden spear in his hand, he was filled with disbelief. This thing? Why is it so strong? If he hadn't personally experimented with it, he wouldn't have believed that such a small and light weapon could actually cause such a powerful force. Can it be made in large quantities? This is called a pistol? If it can be mass-produced, its might will far surpass the mountain-pushing crossbow. If it is used on the battlefield, my West Chu army will be invincible and invincible. Mo Chuan wanted to make West Chu stronger, no longer being oppressed by East Qin. He wanted to take back the territory annexed by East Qin, so when he saw the might of the pistol, his first thought was to use it on the battlefield. The purpose Qin Ning made this pistol was only for self-defense. Of it. Hearing Mo Chuan's words, she couldn't help being stunned. You want to use it on the battlefield? Her expression was a little strange and she couldn't tell what she was feeling. Chapter 1328. She understood and supported Mo Chuan's thoughts. She also hoped that the West Chu country would become stronger day by day. So she spent a lot of effort to study the 20 crossbow blueprints for him. The appearance of the mountain-pushing crossbow would definitely cause a stir in the 4 countries. Its strong might would definitely deter the other 3 countries. But no matter how strong it was still a cold weapon. The power of the pistol was something the mountain-pushing crossbow could not compare to. It was much more dangerous than the mountain-pushing crossbow, but the most important thing was that it was much simpler to make than the mountain-pushing crossbow. Because it was simple, it was easy for people to break it. Qin Ning believed that as long as a craftsman who was good at making wood took a pistol and dismantled it, they would be able to quickly make a replica pistol. If the West Chu country could mass-produce pistols, then the other countries could as well. Could it be that after she transmigrated, she had to change the cold weapon era to a modern weapon era? Thinking of the soldiers from both sides meeting on the battlefield, each holding a wooden gun and shooting at the other side, Qin Ning felt a chill run down her spine. She couldn't help getting goosebumps. That's right, this pistol is small and light, it's easy to carry around and it's very convenient to use. I have never seen a weapon that is stronger than this. If it can be mass-produced, wouldn't it be a blessing for my West Chu? Mo Chuan played with the pistol, looking like he didn't want to let it go. He had always thought that the peacock tail he gave her was the strongest hidden weapon, but when he saw this pistol, his entire body was filled with shock. It was no wonder that she could capture the assassin of Purple Heaven Pavilion without much effort. With this extraordinary pistol, all the impossible became possible. The assassin must have been shocked by her secret weapon, so he lost his ability to resist. Qin Ning's mind turned a few times. Hearing Mo Chuan say that this was a blessing for West Chu, she gave a faint bitter smile. The stronger the weapon, the more likely it would be to kill. She couldn't let this kind of weapon appear in the world. Otherwise, the war between the four countries would be endless. This pistol was made by my master for me to protect myself. It seems like there is only one of it. I don't know if it can be mass-produced. Let me ask my master. Chen Ning had already decided to hide it from Emo Chuan, but this was the first time she had lied to Emo Chuan like this. Her mind was a bit panicked and she looked elsewhere, avoiding Emo Chuan's gaze. Emo Chuan's eyes were like a torch. He couldn't understand her. Hearing her hesitation and her unnatural expression, he pondered it a bit and guessed what she was thinking. He pulled her hand and put the pistol back into her palm. He said meaningfully, "This is what Dr. Gu made for you. You have to keep it well. There is only one such weapon in the world." Chen Ning was a bit surprised and she looked up at Emo Chuan. She saw his clear eyes in her eyes. Of Chin of Emo Chuan of Emo of. Emo of Emo Emo Chuan. Of Emo Chuan Emo of Chuan of Chin of Chu. Chapter 1329. Chen Ning was in his embrace and she couldn't help giving a sigh in her heart, feeling very gratified. He completely understood her meaning. Ning, you did the right thing. Even if I had the mountain-pushing crossbow, I shouldn't have started a war. The reason you gave me the mountain-pushing crossbow was not to let my West Chu army be invincible on the battlefield and win every battle. Rather, you hoped that once we had a strong weapon, the countries that were eyeing us wouldn't easily invade our West Chu. A wise ruler should be thinking about how to let the citizens live in peace, living a peaceful and happy life, not constantly killing and fighting. Ning, it's a good thing you're by my side to remind me, otherwise I would have become an incapable ruler immersed in war and killing. Emo Chuan's lips curled into a self-mocking smile, but his heart was secretly on guard as his back was covered in a cold sweat. So close. Ever since he obtained the mountain-pushing crossbow blueprint, he had been thinking about many things. He thought about many things, thinking about training an elite army, thinking about creating large amounts of mountain-pushing crossbow, thinking about using the might of the mountain-pushing crossbow to easily defeat the East Qin army. He wanted to take back the territory that East Qin had annexed and he wanted to send troops to the East Qin capital. He wanted to force East Qin to hand over the imprisoned previous emperor and then completely defeat the East Qin army that had been acting high and mighty in front of West Chu for many years. He had also thought about defeating East Qin and then sending troops to Southern Peak, bringing this country that had always had ill intentions towards West Chu into the West Chu country's territory. Of course this was not something that could be done in one go, he had to slowly plan it out. He believed that there would soon be a day where it could be realized. His heart was stirred up by this lofty aspiration. Until now. Emo Chuan suddenly realized that if he wanted to realize all of this, it would bring the citizens years of war. Countless soldiers would lose their lives in the war, the citizens would lose their loved ones and they would lose their peaceful homes. Thinking of this, his back couldn't help being covered in a cold sweat and large beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Ninger, it's my fault. I misunderstood the true meaning of giving me the mountain-pushing crossbow. It was my killing intent that was too heavy. No, Emo Chuan, it wasn't your killing intent, but rather your ambition. As an emperor you must have ambition. But now that you've understood, that's good, I'm very happy. Chen Ning had been watching his expression the entire time. The complex emotions in his eyes did not escape her eyes at all. Seeing his eyes become clear and firm, she couldn't help revealing a faint smile. He finally understood her thoughts. She wanted West Chu to become strong enough that enemies would not dare invade them. Only with strong weapons would they have the capital to do so. But being strong did not mean that they had to attack. As an ambitious and vengeful emperor, how could he restrain his growing ambition and not start a war when he had a strong military force? This was the hardest thing to do. Luckily Emo Chuan had finally thought of it and did. You silly girl, if you put so much thought into this, you could have told me this from the start. Do you think I would be stubborn and not listen to anyone? Emo Chuan stroked her hair and revealed a faint smile. Chapter 1330. You are a man, the ruler of a country, your words carry weight. I am just a little girl, so if you listen to everything I say, wouldn't people laugh at you, the ruler of a country, for not having the spirit of a man? Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile. She looked up at him with eyes filled with tenderness. Whoever dares laugh at me, use this pistol to show them how powerful you are. Emo Chuan's mood was very good and he couldn't help joking with her. Speaking of which, this pistol's power cannot be underestimated. It's just that the sound is too loud, just like thunder on a sunny day. She said in a somewhat annoyed voice, That's right, it's a pity I don't know how to make a silencer, otherwise it wouldn't make this much noise. If I used this pistol a few more times in the palace, the Empress Dowager wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. She would give the order to burn that thing that makes thunder every day for this widow. Mo Chuan pinched the tip of her nose and stared at her as he said, "All right, you dare speak ill of mother behind her back. See if I don't go to mother and report you." He was about to leave. "Hey Mo Chuan." Chen Ning was about to pull him back, but her eyes turned and she let go of his sleeve. "All right, quickly report me to the Empress Dowager. Once the Empress Dowager is angry, she will depose me as the Empress. Then she will help your cousin Zhao Rong take the throne, which is exactly what you want, he. Mo Chuan's face turned dark when he heard this. It was like his feet were rooted to the ground, not moving at all. Go quickly." She gave him a little push, giggling. "You little girl, are you purposely trying to disgust me? You don't want to be my Empress, you want to give the throne to Zhao Rong? What do you mean, Un?" He grabbed her wrist and a dangerous flame appeared in his eyes. Very good, she was becoming bolder and bolder. It seemed like he had spoiled her too much recently, so she spoke without restraint. If she didn't want to be his woman, whose woman did she want to be? "Are you thinking of abandoning me and leaving with your master? Isn't that right?" He lowered his brows and spoke in a low voice, but it was like a storm was brewing. Chen Ning suddenly felt guilty. Could it be that he knew? "It's clearly you who wants to complain to the Empress Dowager, it's you who wants to make Zhao Rong the Empress." Mo Chuan was filled with anger. "It's you who is distorting the truth. When did I say I wanted Zhao Rong the Empress?" Mo Chuan angrily said. "Didn't you want to complain to the Empress Dowager? Why aren't, still not? Why don't you go?" "I was just purposely scaring you, how could I tell on you?" Mo Chuan grabbed her waist and bit her red and delicate lips. Mo Chuan's eyes were filled with tears. "You're a good girl, but your mouth is always unforgiving. Fine, I can't win against you, I admit defeat." When he said the word, surrender, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In this world, she was the only one who could make him admit defeat with a smile. Chin. Amidst their smiles, their feelings flowed, and their hearts were filled with boundless warmth. Mo Chuan calmed himself down and said, "I want to see what this Purple Heaven Pavilion assassin looks like. He fell into your hands, unable to live or die, he must be very depressed, right?" After saying this, he reached out to open the box and was stunned. Female assassin? Pucci. Chapter 1331. Mo Chuan knit his brows. He took the person out of the box and threw her on the ground. No matter how he looked at it, the person lying unconscious on the ground was definitely a woman. She had a snow-white oval face and 2 curved eyebrows. She was wearing the clothes of a palace maid. What's going on? How did he turn into a woman? Chen Ning was shocked. The person Mo Chuan took out of the box was really a living woman. Her figure was slim and her hair was like the clouds. That exquisite body showed that every inch of her was a woman. It was definitely not a man in disguise. She's the assassin from the Purple Heaven Pavilion? Mo Chuan had a look of disbelief. This was because when he grabbed the woman, he held her wrist and noticed that there was not a trace of true qi in her body. Moreover, looking at her figure, she absolutely did not seem to have practiced any martial arts. Even if she had taken the bone-transforming pill and her true qi had been completely refined, it was impossible for her figure to turn into a woman, right? No, she's not. She's a palace maid in my palace. Chen Ning forcefully shook her head. She stared at the palace maid's face and recognized her. She had a photographic memory. Although these palace maids and eunuchs had only been here for a day, she had already memorized every single person's appearance in her mind. Chen Ning charged in front of the box and saw that it was completely empty. The sissy that she had turned into coal had disappeared without a trace. What about the assassin? I clearly put him in the box before leaving. How did he become a palace maid? Could it be he was switched? But he ate my bone-transforming pill and didn't have any internal energy. He was also tied up like a dumpling. How could he escape? Unless someone saved him. Her mind turned very quickly. She immediately thought that something must have happened when she left Guan Osprey Palace to pay her respects to Peaceful Life Palace. That assassin called the Thousand-Faced Young Master must have been switched at this time. Mo Chuan's right foot gently kicked the palace maid's body and unsealed her acupuncture point. What happened to me? Why am I here? The palace maid opened her pair of confused eyes and looked at Mo Chuan and Chen Ning in front of her in a daze. She suddenly recognized them and immediately kneeled down. This servant greets the Emperor and Empress. How did you end up in the box? Where is the original person in the box? Mo Chuan asked in a cold voice. The palace maid looked confused and shook her head. I don't know. I hid in the room and didn't come out. Later, I don't know why I suddenly fell asleep. When I woke up, I saw the Emperor and the Empress. I really don't know anything. Alright, you don't need to say anything. You can leave. She had already guessed that this palace maid was a scapegoat that the assassin's companions had used. She knew nothing about the matter at all. Chuan, it's all my fault. I was too careless. I thought that after giving him the bone-transforming pill, he would lose his ability to resist. But I never would have thought that the Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassin would be so powerful. He was still saved by someone. Chen Ning stomped her feet in. Is. Chuan held her hand and looked at her as he said, I'm glad you weren't here at that time. Chapter 1332. If I didn't leave, the killer's companion wouldn't have had a chance to save him, but now? I let a big fish escape from the net, she said. Chuan patted her head. Silly girl, you don't know how hard it is to deal with the people from Purple Heaven Pavilion. Their assassination methods can be said to come and go like ghosts. Even if you have a powerful pistol, you don't know martial arts. If they hide in the dark and ambush you, how could you escape? Even if they don't use hidden weapons, as long as they silently appear behind you, you won't be able to find them. Your life is basically in their hands. I'm guessing that when the killer fell into your hands, his companion must have been lurking around here, but he was also shocked by your pistol, so he didn't dare to attack you. As soon as you left, he used the trick of swapping to save the killer. He calmly analyzed the situation. Chen Ning nodded. She had the same thoughts as Chuan. But she had clearly obtained a good hand, but the tables had been turned by someone else. This kind of sullen feeling was really terrible. Chuan saw her unhappy expression and softly said, Actually, you didn't lose out. That killer tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing the rice. Since he fell into your hands, he must have suffered a lot from a little witch like you. Tell me, what did you do to the killer? Chen Ning remembered the fear in the red-clothed young master's eyes when he saw her, and she couldn't help smiling. I didn't do anything to him. I just shot him with 3 thunderbolt bullets, blew up his butt, destroyed his mask, and slapped him a few dozen times with the soles of my shoes. I hit him so hard that even his grandmother couldn't recognize him. Other than that, I really didn't touch a single finger of his. Chuan gave a rare smile. His lips curled up from Chen Ning's words and his eyes were filled with a smile. That doesn't count for anything? He couldn't help sympathizing with the killer. Of course it doesn't count for anything. I was planning on taking off his clothes and hanging him in front of the city gates, letting people come in and out look at his face. It's a pity he ran away, AI. She gave a regretful sigh. Chuan stared at her. He really is unlucky to meet you. This kind of method to harm people, how did you even think of it? This isn't the first time. Last time he pretended to be a child to trick us. I had Zhui Feng take off his clothes and hang him in front of the city gates. Before she could finish, she suddenly felt a chill on her back. When she looked up, she saw Chuan's eyes releasing a cold glow as he looked at her without blinking. You had Zhui Feng strip him. Did you see what he looked like? He slowly said word for word. Chen Ning wanted to nod her head, but she suddenly realized something was wrong. She quickly shook her head and said, No, of course I didn't see him. He looked like a little child that didn't even have hair. What was there to see? She closed her mouth again because Chuan's expression had become very, very terrifying. You think he's not good looking because he hasn't even fully grown his hair? Then what do you think about me? Do you want to see? He suddenly lifted her chin and moved closer to her face, whispering in her ear. Chapter 1333. You. Of course you're pretty, what? Don't look. But even if you don't want to look, I still want to let you look. Moreover, I think you're pretty. I didn't see enough last time, this time. His words came to an abrupt halt as a devilish smile flashed across his handsome face, making him look exceptionally handsome. Her heart skipped a beat as she looked at him. Chuan, you. No. She could see his intentions and rejected him with a red face. She prepared to turn around and run, but her body suddenly flew into the air. Chuan was already holding her in his arms as he walked into the room. Saying no now, it's too late. Chuan gave a domineering snort. She couldn't find a reason to reject him now. Chen Ning buried her face in his chest, knowing that she couldn't escape this time. Reporting to the Emperor. The Empress Dowager has an urgent matter. Before Chuan could step into the room while holding her, a report suddenly came from outside the palace, making him stop in his tracks. He did not turn around and secretly gritted his teeth as he said in a cold voice, What urgent matter is there? Go and tell the Empress Dowager that this one also has an urgent matter. Once this one is done, I will naturally go to the Peaceful Life Palace to pay my respects to her." When Ning heard the words finished, her cheeks turned even hotter. She couldn't help pinching his arm and saying in a low voice, "Chuan, we still have a lot of time in the future. The Empress Dowager is looking for you, so you should go to the Peaceful Life Palace to see the Empress Dowager first." Chuan looked down at her red cheeks and his face was filled with displeasure. He hatefully said, "You want me to go and pay my respects to Mother right now, right?" She raised her eyelashes and seriously replied, "Chuan, there was an assassin in the palace last night and I made such a big noise that even the Empress Dowager was alerted. She even sent Aunt Su Jin to ask if you're safe, so you should go pay your respects to her once you return to the palace. Now that the Empress Dowager has sent someone to summon you, there must be an urgent matter. If you don't go, wouldn't you be hurting the Empress Dowager's heart?" Her words were reasonable. When Chuan heard this, his heart skipped a beat. "All right, I'll let you go for now. Just obediently stay here and wait for me to come back." He unwillingly put her down, raised her chin and fiercely kissed her lips. Only then did he turn around and leave, following the eunuch who delivered the message to the Peaceful Life Palace. Ning let out a sigh. Her cheeks were still burning as she patted her chest. Chuan told her to wait for him to come back, but she still had many things to do, so how could she obediently stay in the palace? She sent someone to call Jure Feng and then went to Dr. Zhang's palace with Jure Feng's escort. Although the scarlet-clothed young noble had escaped from her hands, she did not feel that there was anything to be afraid of. She was very confident in the bone-transforming pill. Even if the scarlet-clothed young noble's martial arts were high, without internal force, he was just an ordinary person who could not even beat her. As for his Purple Cloud Pavilion's companions, they wouldn't be able to come. TTT no his purple his TT think of go to her, treat teal T. Only the power of the Thunderbolt bullet was very strong, but it had a fatal weakness, which was that it was too loud. It would be great if she could make a bullet that made no sound. Chapter 1334. Ning believed that Gu Qingze would have a way to solve this problem that gave her a headache. She was not worried about the Purple Heaven Pavilion's assassins coming to take revenge on her, but Jue Feng's heart was still in his throat. He did not dare be careless and called many hidden guards to protect her. Every tree and bush was an enemy on the way, but nothing strange happened when the two of them safely entered Dr. Zhang's palace. "Master, how is Xiaobai?" When she entered, she saw Gu Qingze sitting in front of Chu Xiaobai's bed. He had a look of concentration on his face, not even noticing that she had come in. Gu Qingze thoughtfully withdrew his fingers from Chu Xiaobai's wrist. He turned to look at her and snappily said, "Why don't you ask how your master is doing?" "Zai, it seems like his mood is not good." Ning stuck out her tongue and giggled as she said, "Seeing master, this old man is full of energy. His face is glowing and he's very good." "Humph, flatterer." Gu Qingze rolled his eyes at her, but his lips curled into a faint smile. "Master, why hasn't Xiaobai woken up yet? He has been asleep for several days. Has there been any change in his condition?" Ning walked in front of the bed and looked at the unconscious Chu Xiaobai. Her face revealed a look of deep worry. "Are you doubting master's medical skills?" Gu Qingze stared at her. "This master has already said that he is fine now. As long as he wakes up, his illness will be cured. Although he has been sleeping, his body is improving day by day. How can you not see such an obvious thing with your master's medical skills?" Her face turned slightly red. Of course she could see that although Chu Xiaobai was unconscious, his face was becoming rosier and more radiant every day. Moreover, his recovery speed was very fast. It could be imagined that Gu Qingze had given him quite a bit of medicine and spent a lot of effort on it. But worry made one confused. Seeing that Chu Xiaobai was still unconscious, she couldn't help thinking of something bad. "Master, the weapon you made for me is very good. I used it to catch an assassin yesterday." She took out the wooden spear and changed the topic. Gu Qingze gave a snort and proudly said, "Is there anything that I, Gu Qingze, make that isn't good?" Ning stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "Master's craftsmanship is naturally #1 in the world, but what? Although this weapon is good, there's one bad thing about it." She deliberately kept him in suspense. "Which one isn't good?" As expected, Gu Qingze fell into her trap. He took the wooden spear from her hands and said, "Tell me, I'll change it immediately. Is that the bullet is bad and it's too loud, just like thunder? Master, do you have any good ideas to create a silent and powerful bullet?" Qin Ning rubbed her chin as she looked at Gu Qingze. Master, do you have any good ideas? Gu Qingze said in a deep voice. Ning Master Gu Qingze. You, Qin Ning Gu Qingze quickly said. He quickly dismantled the wooden spear, and his technique was extremely proficient. Yes, this round thing is called a bullet. It's usually placed in the magazine, and when the trigger is pulled, it will be fired from the muzzle. I see. Gu Qingze nodded. He had made this pistol according to Qin Ning's blueprints, but he had never tried using it before. Chapter 1335. Yes, Master really is Master, so powerful. Qin Ning gave him a thumbs up. You're the one who's really powerful. You actually made such a strong explosive bullet. The assassin you caught yesterday, his head must have been blown up by you, right? Gu Qingze carefully put down the thunderbolt bullet. He knew that although this thing looked small, if it accidentally exploded, the power would not be small. I was lenient and didn't aim at his head. I only blew up his butt. It's a pity that I was too careless and let him run away. Qin Ning patted her head in annoyance. Gu Qingze said in astonishment, Who is so powerful that they can actually run away from your hands? Tell me about it. He revealed a very interested expression. Qin Ning thought about it and asked, Master, do you know about Purple Heaven Pavilion? Purple Heaven Pavilion? Of course I've heard of it. It's a secretive assassin organization that has risen in Jianghu in recent years. I heard that they are very powerful. Gu Qingze's brows slightly jumped and he took in a breath of cold air. Could it be that the person who tried to assassinate you was an assassin from Purple Heaven Pavilion? Last time that Chasing Wind said that you were in danger, could it be that you were targeted by an assassin from Purple Heaven Pavilion? Yes. She nodded. Gu Qingze couldn't help but knit his brows. How did you offend someone from Purple Heaven Pavilion for no reason? Do you know that they are like maggots in the bone? Once you offend them, they will always pester you until you die. Master, it's not that I offended them, it's that they accepted money from someone else and wanted my head. Although my head isn't worth any money, I'm not willing to let them take it away for free. If they want to kill me, I naturally have to resist. I can't just obediently stretch out my neck and let them poke me, right? Don't you think so? Wu, of course. You are my disciple. If they want to kill you, then they are not giving face to Master. Shenlas, tell me, who did you offend? Who wants your head? Gu Qingze's face became serious. I didn't offend them. It's just that someone doesn't like me and wants to pull me down from the position of Empress and replace me. If I don't die, she will never be able to take my position. Qin Ning faintly said. Gu Qingze understood once he heard this, so it's because love turns into hatred. Qin girl, you are the scapegoat for your husband. I just can't see what's so good about that emperor husband of yours that he's worthy of you treating him so wholeheartedly and even inviting a fatal disaster for him. Your emperor husband doesn't know about this? Why didn't he stand up for you and deal with the original mastermind who hired the killer to kill you? Qin Ning shook her head and said, This matter is a long story. He can't touch this person and he can't touch him. Gu Qingze raised his eyebrows. Tell me, who is that person? I don't believe that he can't move even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms. She is Duke Ning's beloved daughter, Zhao Rong Junju. So it's just a princess. Could it be that you, as the Empress, can't even deal with a princess? Gu Qingze sneered. Chapter 1336. Qin Ning then said, Last night, I had already caught the assassin she sent to assassinate me, and the assassin personally confessed that he was sent by the Zhaorong princess. It's a pity that because I was careless, the assassin escaped. Now that there is no witness or evidence, even if I am the Empress, I can't just say that she is the killer. She is the killer. After hearing this, Gu Qingze was silent for a while before suddenly asking, You just said that she is Duke Ning's daughter? Qin Ning nodded. Tomorrow is the 5th month's Dragon Boat Festival, which is also the Zhaorong princess' birthday. Your master has heard that the palace is holding a banquet to celebrate the Zhaorong princess' birthday, is that right? Gu Qingze asked. She made an E sound and then said in a strange voice, Master, you don't leave your house, but your news is really fast. Even this kind of thing has reached your ears? Gu Qingze ignored her and threw out a large red invitation card from his sleeve. A few large words were written neatly on it, To the Ancient Divine Doctor. Qin Ning picked up the invitation card and opened it. She understood with a single glance. So Duke Ning is inviting you to the palace for a banquet. She raised her head and looked at Gu Qingze. Master, are you going? I wasn't going, but now your master has changed his mind. Gu Qingze said with an expressionless face. He moved the armrest of the chair a bit and the armrest that was like a small box opened. He reached in and took out a thin item. Chen Ning looked at it with wide eyes. She felt that Gu Qing's chair was like Du Shenyang's treasure chest, containing all kinds of strange things. Something that could be hidden in this chair by Gu Qing's was definitely not a normal item. The spirit rhinoceros pill from last time was a rare treasure, but this time he took out. Was it a piece of clothing? Gu Qing's stroked that thin piece of clothing and his eyes revealed a look of deep thought. It was like he was lost in his memories, not making a sound for a long time. Chen Ning also quietly stood there, not bothering him. I've left this piece of clothing here for 10 years, I'll give it to you today. Gu Qing's came back to his senses and gave the clothing in his hand to Chen Ning. She did not take it and shook her head as she said, "This piece of clothing must be very precious. It is master's most treasured item, I can't take it." What, you can see the benefits of this piece of clothing. Gu Qingze raised his brows and looked at her with a strange look. I can't see it, but master keeping it for 10 years shows that it is not normal, so I can't take it. Gu Qingze put on a stern face and said, if I say I'll give it to you, then I'll give it to you. What are you trying to make excuses for? Do you still want to be my disciple? Do you think master is such a petty person? Do you think your master is such a petty person? You can't even give your disciple a piece of clothing? That's right, this gray robe doesn't match your status as the Empress. You don't want it, do you? Chin. How can I refuse master's generous gift? Thank you, master. Ning Chin Shi master's gift, Chin, Ning, Chin, master's Chin, Chin's son. Upon closer inspection, it was neither silk nor silk, its color dark. He couldn't help but mutter to himself. Chapter 1337. Master, this robe is actually a heaven and earth treasure? Chin Ning's eyes opened wide. Gu Qingze rolled his eyes at her and said, of course, it's made from the cold silk of the snowy peaks of the extreme north. It can't be damaged by swords or spears, and it can't be invaded by water or fire. You little girl only know how to cause trouble, even daring to provoke the assassins of the Purple Heaven Pavilion. Aren't you afraid of endless trouble? But you'll be much safer if you wear this robe. You just need to be careful, don't let someone cut off your head while you're asleep. Can't be damaged by swords or spears, and it can't be invaded by water or fire. Chen Ning was pleasantly surprised. Her hands holding the robe were trembling from excitement. She already knew that this robe was not ordinary, but she never thought that it would be a treasure that everyone dreamed of. In this era of cold weapons, having this robe was equal to having a protective talisman. Master, this gift of yours is too precious, I really can't accept it. Master, you should keep this robe for yourself. Master, you don't know martial arts, what would you do if you encounter danger? Although she liked this snow silk robe, she still gave it back to Gu Qingze. Do you think your master is a good-for-nothing like you? So what if I don't know martial arts? If I wanted to learn martial arts, I would have already become the #1 expert in the world. I don't want to learn those fighting and killing skills. Other than killing people, it's just killing people, humph. I don't know martial arts, but I can still make you obedient. Do you believe me? Gu Qingze had a proud look on his face. His right hand was placed on the armrest as he stared at Chen Ning. Chen Ning remembered the mechanism on his chair and quickly nodded. I believe you, of course I believe you. Master, so the reason you don't learn martial arts is because you don't want to kill people? Her heart involuntarily filled with respect for Gu Qingze. Your master studies medicine. Medicine focuses on saving patients, but martial arts focuses on fighting and killing, taking people's lives with each move. If I learn martial arts, wouldn't it be the opposite of my medical skills? Gu Qingze softly said. But master, learning martial arts doesn't mean you have to take people's lives and fight and kill, right? It can also punish evil and help the weak. To kill or not to kill, it all depends on a person's thoughts. If a person's heart is good, even if they learn martial arts, they won't kill the innocent. If a person's heart is evil, even if they don't learn martial arts, they will still do evil things. Just like Mo Chuan, his martial arts are very good, but I have never seen him kill a person. Master, don't you agree? My ass. Gu Qingze felt that what she said was reasonable, but when he heard her use Mo Chuan as an example, he was filled with anger. He angrily said, in the future, don't mention that fellow's name in front of your master. If you think he's good, why are you looking for me? That's right, his martial arts are good and he can protect you. Of course you don't want this tattered robe I gave you. If you don't want it, then I'll give it to someone who wants it. He took the snow silk robe from Chen Ning's hands and stuffed it back into the chair like a rag, not treating it like a rare treasure at all. At the same time he turned the chair around and turned his back to Chen Ning. It was clear that he was not light and did not even want to look at her. Chen Ning never thought that Gu Qingze would have this kind of temper. Thinking about it, she didn't say anything wrong, she just casually praised Mo Chuan. Chapter 1338. She didn't know what grudge the two of them had in their past lives, but they didn't like each other from the moment they met. When she mentioned Gu Qingze to Mo Chuan also had a sour expression. This made it hard for her to be stuck in the middle. Master, when did I say I didn't care about the treasure you gave me? You said you wanted to give it to someone who cared about it, but who did you want to give it to? Chen Ning said with an embarrassed smile. She knew that it was she who had angered Gu Qingze, and when she recalled that ever since she acknowledged him as her master had treated her wholeheartedly. Even the incomparably precious rhinoceros pill and snow silk robe had been given to her without even blinking. How could she not be moved by such a loving heart? But thinking of how she hadn't done anything for her master and had angered him, her heart was filled with guilt. Who this master wants to give it to, does it matter to you? Gu Qingze still had his back facing Chen Ning as he coldly said, "You can leave. If you don't leave, don't blame me for being impolite." He actually turned his back on her, not giving her any face at all. Chen Ning's eyes turned and she pointed at the gun that Gu Qingze had turned into a pile of wood. "If master wants to chase me away, shouldn't you at least restore this gun? Without it to protect my life, if the assassins of the Purple Heaven Pavilion come back, I'm afraid I won't be able to live to see tomorrow's sun." She deliberately made it sound like the situation was very dangerous. Gu Qingze gave a snort, not being moved by her at all. "Didn't you say that you don't want anything of mine? If you want to save your life, then go find your martial arts emperor husband. Why are you looking for a master who doesn't know martial arts? Leave quickly, leave." He mercilessly ordered her to leave. After saying this, he gently pressed down on the armrest and a black rope came out. It wrapped around Chen Ning's waist and with a swing, he had already thrown her out the window. Zhui Feng was standing on the wall looking around with a vigilant expression. Suddenly seeing Chen Ning being thrown out the window, he was shocked and flew over to support her. "Empress, are you all right?" The black rope flew out and in the blink of an eye, it had already returned to the window. Chen Ning steadied herself and revealed a bitter smile. She shook her head and said, "I'm fine." "There's an assassin inside?" Zhui Feng's eyes turned cold as he looked at the closed window. "No, I'm not an assassin. It was me who made master angry, so he kicked me out," Chen Ning said loudly to the window. The room was silent, not a single sound came out. Although Zhui Feng respected Gu Qingze a lot, seeing him treat Chen Ning like this, he couldn't help feeling a bit angry. He clenched his fists, but before he could say anything, Zhui Feng said, "Zhui Feng." Zhui Feng was stunned as he looked at Chen Ning's face. Chen Ning's face did not show any signs of anger. Rather, she giggled and said to the window, "Master, then I'm leaving. I'm really leaving." Gu Qingze still did not say anything in the room, but the window was suddenly pushed open and something was thrown into Chen Ning's arms. Chen Ning looked down and saw that it was the pistol. It had originally been disassembled by Gu Qingze, but in this short period of time, Gu Qingze had actually reassembled it back to its original state. Even the thunderbolt bullets were loaded into the magazine. The corners of her lips curled up as she chuckled. Chapter 1339. Returning to the palace, the sky was getting dark and Mo Chuan still hadn't returned. Chen Ning felt that it was a bit strange. Not only was Mo Chuan not here, Xiaoxi was not here either. Xiao Ru had slept for an entire day and her little face was completely red. She was filled with energy and seeing Chen Ning return, she happily threw herself into her embrace. She wouldn't let go no matter what, just like reuniting after a disaster. "Young miss, you left this servant alone again. Where did you go? Why didn't you bring this servant with you?" She pouted her lips and revealed a wronged expression. When Chen Ning saw her expression, her heart turned soft. She rubbed her hair like she was rubbing a kitten. "I went to see my master and saw that you were sleeping like a pig, so I couldn't bear to call you. Next time I leave the palace, I'll definitely bring you out to play and bring you to eat good food, alright?" "Your master? It's the ancient divine doctor." Xiao Ru was stunned for a bit before she reacted. Then she revealed a smile and clapped her hands as she said, all right, you have to bring me next time." She was still a child. Hearing that there was good food to eat and fun to play with, she revealed a smile and threw all her worries to the back of her head. She even forgot about the shadow that the red-clothed young master gave her. "Where's Mo Chuan? Is he not back yet?" Chen Ning asked. Xiao Ru shook her head. When this servant woke up, I didn't see the emperor. Not only did I not see the emperor, I also didn't see Xiaoxi. That's right, young miss, I was captured by the red-clothed demon. Did Xiaoxi come to find me? Her face was slightly red as she asked in a shy voice. Qin Ning looked at her with a smile. She scratched the tip of her nose and said with a smile, "What do you think?" Xiao Ru lowered her head and said, "This servant doesn't know. I haven't seen him in several days and haven't talked to him." She was a bit sad. When she was captured, she had been hoping for someone to save her, and the person she wanted to see the most was Xiaoxi. But Xiaoxi did not say a single word of greeting from beginning to end, not even showing his face. The one who came to save her in the end was not Xiaoxi at all, but rather that wooden Jue Feng. Qin Ning patted her head and said with a faint smile, "Isn't it easy for you to see Xiaoxi? When Emo Chuan comes back, he will naturally come back. If you have anything you want to say to him, just say it to him." She had already discussed it with Emo Chuan that he wouldn't stop her from seeing Xiaoxi in the future. They were both young, so they were just chatting and laughing, so there was no love involved. The worries she had before were completely unfounded. Qin Ning thought that Xiao Ru would be happy hearing this, but who would have thought that Xiao Ru would shake her head? "I don't want to see Xiaoxi that much. I had a lot of things I wanted to tell him, but after not seeing him for so long, I don't remember." Xiao Ru looked outside. Qin Ning asked in a curious voice, "Why are you looking for Jue Feng?" Jue Feng had escorted her back, but once she entered the Guan Osprey Palace, Jue Feng hid himself. As a secret guard, he was used to hiding in the shadows, not being discovered by anyone. Chapter 1341. If the young miss likes it, I'll embroider a few more for you. What designs do you like? I'll immediately go embroider them. Xiao Ru's tears immediately turned into a smile. Alright, I like orchids, plum blossoms and dragonflies on top of lotuses. Qin Ning said with a smile. This servant will go embroider them now. Xiao Ru smiled as she ran back to her room. Qin Ning smiled as she watched her leave, and she couldn't help letting out a sigh of relief. It was a good thing this girl's mind was pure and she was easily coaxed. Returning to her room after waiting for a while, Jue Feng brought news of Emo Chuan. Empress Dowager Zhou's body was sick, so Emo Chuan stayed in the Peaceful Life Palace to take care of her. Xiaoxi also stayed in the Peaceful Life Palace. Hearing this, Qin Ning knit her brows. She remembered that when she went to visit Empress Dowager Zhou this morning, although Empress Dowager Zhou wasn't in a good mood due to lack of sleep, when she was chased out of the palace, she didn't seem sick at all. But the Empress Dowager was sick, so how could she not visit her? She stood up to leave and said, Jue Feng, tell people to prepare a sedan, I want to visit the Empress Dowager. Jue Feng hesitated a bit before saying, the Empress Dowager has ordered that no one is allowed to disturb her, so it's best if the Empress doesn't go. Qin Ning stopped and turned around. Then what did the Emperor say? The Emperor told this subordinate to report to the Empress that he will stay in the Peaceful Life Palace tonight to take care of the Empress Dowager, allowing the Empress to rest early. Also, the Emperor has hidden guards inside and outside the palace, so the Empress can rest in peace. Qin Ning remained silent, feeling that Empress Dowager Zhou's illness was strange. If she was really sick, why didn't she call for a doctor and instead had Emo Chuan stay to take care of her? This was clearly an excuse to keep Emo Chuan in the Peaceful Life Palace, separating her and Emo Chuan. But why did she do this? What was her goal? She saw that Jue Feng was about to leave, but she suddenly thought of something and called out to him. Other than the Emperor, who else is staying in the Peaceful Life Palace? Jue Feng stuttered as he said, This subordinate doesn't know. Qin Ning had already guessed it. There's also Zhao Rong Princess, right? Jue Feng did not reply and lowered his head, not daring to look at Qin Ning. She had a cold smile. So Empress Zhou had this idea. Using his illness as an excuse to give Emo Chuan and Zhao Rong a chance to interact, it could be considered a lot of effort. Emo Chuan was very filial to his mother. Even if he knew that Empress Dowager Zhou was pretending to be sick, he had to stay and serve her. I understand. You can leave now. She waved her hand. Jue Feng let out a sigh of relief and walked out like he had been granted amnesty. Jue Feng, you. What other orders does the Empress have? Jue Feng's breathing couldn't help stopping as he turned around. Qin Ning's face was very calm, not showing any anger or annoyance. Her eyes fell onto Jue Feng's face, sizing him up. That probing gaze made Jue Feng's heart jump up and down, making his body feel uncomfortable. But he still kept his cool and didn't say a word. Qin Ning took out Xiao Ruxiu's pouch. She wanted him to take it, but seeing his blank expression, she changed her mind. This pouch was Little Rue's gratitude towards him. Since this blockhead did not appreciate it, then why waste Little Rue's good intentions? There's nothing else. You can leave, she said lightly. Chapter 1342. Qin Ning was prepared to go to bed when the door was suddenly pushed open. Xiao Ru ran in a panic, running to the bed in one breath and shouting, "Young miss! What happened? Did you hear a sound?" Xiao Ru had a panicked expression as she looked out the window. "What sound?" Qin Ning asked in a curious voice. Cat meowing," Xiao Ru said in a trembling voice. Cat meowing? Qin Ning couldn't help looking at Xiao Ru. She had indeed heard cat meowing, but she didn't care. She patted Xiao Ru's shoulder and said with a smile, "A few cat meowing scared you like this? Xiao Ru, are you born in the year of the mouse?" Xiao Ru pouted, "Young miss, you're making fun of this servant again. The servant is really scared. That cat meowing is very strange. Moreover, it's not just one cat, but rather many cats that are making strange meowing sounds. The sound is just outside the window. This servant is too scared to sleep." Qin Ning said with a faint smile, "It's spring right now. It's normal for cats to meow. What's so strange about it? Since you're afraid, you can sleep with me tonight." "How can I do that?" Xiao Ru's eyes opened wide. "This is the Emperor's dragon bed. How could this servant dare?" "What do you mean dare or not dare? It's just a bed. Mo Chuan will stay in the Peaceful Life Palace tonight to take care of the Empress Dowager, so you can sleep with me." She didn't say anything as she pulled Xiao Ru onto the bed and covered her with the blanket. Xiao Ru still had a worried look on her face. She would occasionally get up and look out the window. "What are you afraid of? Mo Chuan won't come back. Even if he comes back, he's not a tiger. Would he eat you? What, are you still afraid of those cats?" Qin Ning teased her. Xiao Ru's heart trembled as she shrank back to her side. "Young miss, don't you think that the meowing of these cats is very strange? This servant has often heard cats meowing before, but it's completely different from these cats. When I hear these cats meowing, I feel like something bad is about to happen." It was fine if she didn't mention it. Once she mentioned it, Qin Ning also paid attention. She listened with rapt attention and heard that the cat's meowing was a bit strange. The sound was filled with excitement, as well as an indescribable evil aura. You always like to let your imagination run wild. It's just a cat's meow. Go to sleep. Tomorrow is the Dragon Boat Festival. There will be a big banquet in the palace. All the princes and ministers will be attending. You have to get enough sleep to be energetic tomorrow. Don't you like crowds? Tomorrow the palace will be very lively. I believe you will have a good time. Don't you like crowds? Xiao Ru had an unhappy look on her face. This servant doesn't want to participate in that palace banquet. "Young miss, you don't need to participate either. This servant already knows that the Empress Dowager wants to celebrate that Zhaorong princess birthday. That Zhaorong princess is so hateful. This servant gets angry when she sees her, humph." Hearing her naive words, Qin Ning revealed a faint smile and said, "You don't have to attend, but as the Empress I have to attend. All right, if you don't want to go tomorrow, then just obediently stay in the Guan Osprey Palace. I'll have Xiao Si stay and chat with you, all right?" Chapter 1343. Qin Ning said with a smile, "But you hate the Zhaorong princess. You get angry just looking at her. How could I bear to make my Xiao Ru unhappy? Then this servant will close my eyes and not look at her. This servant's eyes will only look at the young miss and I won't get angry. Young miss, this servant will follow you," Xiao Ru firmly said. "All right, then you'll come with me to the banquet. Now close your eyes and obediently go to sleep," Qin Ning said with a smile. Xiao Ru really closed her eyes. As long as she was by Qin Ning's side, she would feel at ease. Even if the sky fell down, she wouldn't be afraid. After a while, her breathing became smooth and she fell asleep. Qin Ning opened her eyes and fell into a daze looking at the embroidered patterns on the ceiling. Outside the window, the wild cats were crying out, but she turned a deaf ear to them. She was just thinking in her heart. At this time, what was Mo Chuan doing? What was the Zhaorong princess doing? But Mo Chuan would not do anything that would let her down. He knew what he was doing. Her lips curled into a smile, secretly laughing at herself, thinking the same thing as Xiao Ru. She closed her eyes and fell asleep not long after. In the morning of the next day, Xiao Ru prepared the toiletries and helped Qin Ning dress up. "Young miss, what dress will you wear for the banquet today? You have to choose the most beautiful one, the most dazzling one, to anger the Zhaorong princess to death." Xiao Ru opened the suitcases one by one, choosing the dress for Chen Ning for the banquet. Chen Ning didn't mind as she said, "She is the main character today, so she must be dressed even more beautifully than a peacock. Why should I steal her limelight? I'll just choose a plain dress." Plain dress? No, no, no. Yeah, this dress is so beautiful. If young miss wears this, you'll look like a fairy descending to the mortal world. No. You'll look even better than a fairy descending to the mortal world. Xiao Ru suddenly found a brand new dress in the suitcase and couldn't help letting out a cry of praise. Chen Ning looked over and saw that the dress was simple and elegant in color. The exquisite material was like moonlight shining down on the ground. It was elegant without losing its nobility, it was gorgeous with a hint of elegance. Where did this dress come from? This was the first time she had seen this kind of exquisite dress. It was as beautiful as a heavenly dress made by a weaver. It must have been given to you by the emperor. This set of clothes was placed at the top of this suitcase. The servant saw it immediately. "Young miss, can you wear this set today?" Xiao Ru's eyes lit up as she looked at Chen Ning. Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat as she suddenly thought of Mo Chuan's words. He said that he never cared for the gifts he gave him. At that time he was puzzled. Why didn't I see any gifts from him? Later she understood that everything in this room was personally picked out by Mo Chuan for her. From the big bed screen to the small hairpin, each item was filled with Mo Chuan's affection. This dress was placed in the most conspicuous place in the suitcase, so Mo Chuan must have prepared it for her. He knew that she didn't like bright or strong colors, and this moonlight dress was just what she wanted. "All right, I'll wear this." Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and nodded. How could she disappoint Mo Chuan's intentions? When she finished packing and slowly turned around, Xiao Ru, who was standing behind her, couldn't help letting out a low cry of surprise. Her voice was filled with praise and disbelief. "Young miss, you're too beautiful. This servant has never seen you this beautiful before." Chapter 1344. Xiao Ru nodded like she was pounding garlic. Her eyes sparkled like stars as she smiled from ear to ear. "Young miss, once you appear, that princess consort will definitely not be able to compare to you. This servant can't wait to see what she looks like when she sees you. Should we immediately go to the banquet?" Seeing her impatient appearance, Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile. "No rush, no rush. It's still early, we still have time. The ones who should be anxious right now aren't us but rather someone else," she pointed out in a meaningful voice. Xiao Ru did not understand. She just stared at her in a daze. Chen Ning suddenly knit her brows. "Xiao Ru, do you smell a special smell?" "What special smell?" Xiao Ru forcefully sniffed and shouted, If young miss didn't say it, this servant wouldn't have been able to smell it. It seems like there really is a special smell, but this servant doesn't know what it is. There's a faint fragrance and it's a bit spicy?" She couldn't help laughing as she said this. She awkwardly scratched her head. "This servant is really stupid, I can't smell this spicy smell." Chen Ning did not laugh because Xiao Ru had the same feeling as her. She walked around the room a few steps and then stopped. "This smell seems to be coming from young miss. I understand, it's the smell of these clothes. They must have been placed in a camphor wood box, so this is the smell of camphor wood. If young miss doesn't like it, this servant will go get some flower dew." "The smell of camphor wood? It doesn't seem like it." Chen Ning shook her head and revealed a look of deep thought. "Xiao Ru, open the box with this set of clothes." "Yes, young miss." Although she didn't know what Chen Ning wanted to do, Xiao Ru still quickly opened the box. Chen Ning walked over and saw that the box was filled with several different kinds of beautiful dresses. She picked one up and sniffed it. Then she gave it to Xiao Ru. She picked up another one and also sniffed it. These clothes don't have any smell. Only the clothes young miss is wearing do. This is really strange." Xiao Ru also noticed this problem. Chen Ning nodded. Something was wrong. She began to search through her memories. This smell was very cool and it was not unpleasant. After smelling it, it gave her a refreshing feeling. It didn't seem like a poison. But why was it not on the other clothes and only this set of clothes had it? At the same time, she recalled the strange cry of the wild cat outside the window last night. The cry was filled with excitement, agitation, and a faint evil aura. Suddenly, a noun popped up in her mind. Could it be? Chen Ning's lips slightly curled up as she revealed a mocking smile. What a good Zhao Rong Junju. She really put in a lot of effort to come up with this idea. It must have been hard on her. But the clothes she gave me are quite to my liking, she muttered to herself. Xiao Ru was shocked. Young Miss Xiao Ru's heart. Xiao Ru was Zhao's and Xiao Ru. That's right. Chen Ning calmly nodded. Chapter 1345. Chen Ning raised her brows. She stroked the silk fabric and the exquisite embroidery on the clothes as she revealed a faint smile. Burn it? It's rare for the princess to spend so much effort to give me such a beautiful set of clothes. If I burn it, it would be too much of a pity and I would be letting down the princess' good intentions. She giggled and said, "But young miss, you've said before that a person who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Also, that bad princess really wanted to give it to you, so why didn't she just openly give it to you? Instead she sneakily put it in the suitcase. This is clearly a weasel paying respects to a chicken. She doesn't have good intentions." Xiaoru angrily said. This was the first time she felt that she was very smart. "Not bad, Xiaoru, you've made great progress. You're using idioms very well and you're becoming smarter, being able to see that she has bad intentions." Chen Ning couldn't help praising her. Xiaoru's face turned red in embarrassment. "Young miss, don't praise this servant. The truly smart person is the young miss compared to this servant is just a block of wood." "That's right, young miss, quickly take it off. There might be poison on these clothes." She prepared to help Chen Ning take off her clothes, but Chen Ning stopped her. "Poison? I'm not afraid of poison and there isn't any poison on these clothes. It's just a strange powder that has been sprinkled on it. This powder seems to be good for people. Take a sniff and what do you feel?" Xiaoru took a strong sniff and said, This servant feels very cool and comfortable." She felt her head become cool, but her face became even more confused. "Young miss, the more you say the more confused this servant is. Could it be that the princess doesn't want to harm you? This servant does not believe that she would be this kind." Chen Ning curled her lips into a smile and said, "Of course she has bad intentions. The powder on these clothes is called cat mint, it has a refreshing effect. However, the ones who like this smell the most are not people but rather cats." "Cats?" Xiaoru's eyes went wide. "Cat mint is also called cold mint, it gives off a special smell. Cats are much more sensitive to smell than humans, so they like this special smell very much. However, if they smell this smell too much, they will become very excited and hallucinate. They will roll around, bite and even chase things with this smell. That's why we heard the strange cries of the wild cats outside the window last night. They were all attracted by the cat mint smell. Only the clothes were placed in the box at the time, so the smell was much lighter, so the cats only let out their cries. If this smell became stronger, what would happen?" Xiaoru's eyes revealed a look of fear. This servant doesn't know, but this servant thinks it will be very scary. Perhaps all the cats will be attracted by this smell and then... She gave a cold shiver. Chen Ning continued for her, "Then they will jump at the person wearing the clothes. They will bite and scratch, becoming crazy and reckless. The cat's claws are very sharp, so if they go crazy..." She had a cold smile. It had to be said, this was a very clever and sinister plan. If she hadn't found the cat mint in her memory and heard the wild cat's cries last night, perhaps she really would have fallen for her plan. Chapter 1346. Chen Ning suddenly remembered the words recorded in the book. The appearance of the thorn mustard grass was very similar to the cat mint, so many people would mistake the thorn mustard grass for the cat mint. However, the smell of the thorn mustard grass was completely different from the cat mint, being much stronger than the cat mint. The most important thing was that the smell of the thorn mustard grass mixed with the cat mint, greatly increasing the effect of the cat mint. She believed that during the palace banquet, Zhao Rong Junju would definitely find a chance to sprinkle the bramble mustard grass powder on her body. Then it would react with the catnip on her clothes. At that time she believed that the entire palace and even the cats outside the palace would be attracted by the strong smell. They would become crazy and lose their rationality, and all of them would rush towards her. At that time, it wouldn't just be a few dozen wild cats, it would be over 100 or even over 1,000. With this many cats charging at her, even Mo Chuan and the palace guards would be caught off guard. They wouldn't be able to defend in time and perhaps she would be scratched by these crazy cats. Even if she wasn't injured, her clothes would be torn by these cats and her skin would be exposed. As the Empress, if she was disheveled in front of all the ministers and let other men see her body, that would be a great shame. It would make her lose all face and she would never be able to raise her head again. Empress Dowager Zhou could use this as a pretext to abolish her as the Empress. That's right, that's right. This was the Zhao Rong princess' true goal, her true killing move. How poisonous. Chen Ning found that she had underestimated the Zhao Rong princess. She never thought that not only would the Zhao Rong princess spend a large amount of money to buy her head, she would even do anything to achieve her goal. However, since she had already discovered the other side's scheme, How could she let Zhao Rong princess succeed like this? Young miss, this is simply too terrifying. Quickly take off your clothes, this servant will immediately burn them. This servant will find another set of clothes for you to change into. Xiao Ru anxiously said. Qin Ning confidently shook her head, there's no need to change. Zhao Rong spent so much effort to give me such a large gift, if I don't accept it, wouldn't I disappoint her? Xiao Ru, go get some mint leaves, I have a use for them. Xiao Ru went to get the mint leaves and gave them to Qin Ning. Qin Ning dried the mint leaves over the fire. Then she kneaded them into powder and sprinkled it on her clothes. She saw the puzzled look on Xiao Ru's face and explained with a smile, although catnip and peppermint are only separated by a single word, peppermint is the nemesis of catnip. Its taste is very similar to catnip and normal people can't tell them apart, but it can completely cover up the smell of catnip. Ah, that's great. Xiao Ru let out a sigh of relief and a smile appeared on her tight little face. However, first miss, that bad princess has come up with such a vicious plan to harm you. Who knows what other evil plans she will come up with at the palace banquet. How about we don't go and not go? Ning, of course not. If I don't go, I'll miss a wonderful show. Qin Ning slightly raised her brows and revealed a playful look. She looked up at the sky outside and said, it's almost time. Let's go. The palace banquet to celebrate Zhao Rong Juanzhu's birthday was arranged to be held in Qingyan Palace Hall and would begin at noon. Chapter 1347. The east side of the royal palace, Cheonghua Park. The scenery here was very good. Looking into the distance, there were rivers and mountains everywhere. There were pavilions and green trees, making this place look like a paradise on earth. The ministers strolled through the Cheonghua Park in twos and threes, giving it endless praise. The Qinggan Palace was in the center of the Cheonghua Park. It was transparent on all sides and had floor-to-ceiling windows. Sitting in the middle of the palace, one could see the beautiful scenery around them. It was the most elegant palace in the royal palace. Empress Dowager Zhou had set the Zhao Rong princess birthday banquet in the Qinggan Palace. One reason was because of the auspicious name and the other was to show how much importance they placed on the Zhao Rong princess. How could the ministers that came to the banquet not understand Empress Dowager Zhou's intentions? They were afraid that this birthday banquet would not be a good banquet. Everyone knew this in their hearts. There were some ministers that couldn't help secretly sympathizing with the Empress, but no one could say it. When they saw each other, they were all filled with smiles. After exchanging greetings, they entered the palace and sat down. When Qin Ning brought Xiao Ru to the Qinggan Palace, it was not too early or too late. The Empress has arrived. With a clear announcement from the eunuch, everyone in the palace stood up, welcoming Qin Ning's arrival. Qin Ning's attire today was very appropriate. It wasn't too gaudy but it wasn't too plain either. It was very dignified, appearing at the entrance of the Qinggan Palace. Greetings to the Empress. The ministers all bowed to Qin Ning. Qin Ning looked over the palace and found that Empress Dowager Zhou Mo Chuan and the Zhao Rong princess had not arrived yet. Everyone, no need to be so polite. Please sit. Her voice was clear and she gently waved her hand, dismissing everyone's etiquette. Then she was led by the eunuchs to her seat and the ministers all respectfully opened a path for her. Suddenly she felt a sharp gaze directed at her, so she looked in the direction of the gaze. It was a middle-aged man around 40 years old. He was wearing a pure gold crown and a purple robe. He had an imposing appearance and an extraordinary aura. His eyes were filled with energy, looking at her with an unfriendly gaze. This was Qin Ning's first time seeing this person. Looking through her memories, she found that she did not recognize this middle-aged man. Just seeing his crown and clothes, she knew that his rank was not low. If he wasn't a prince, then he was a duke. She also noticed that when she entered the hall earlier, everyone bowed to her, and only this violet-robed middle-aged man stood proudly. Not only did he not bow and pay his respects to her, he instead revealed a disdainful and arrogant expression. That's strange. I've never met him before and I've never offended him. How did I offend such a big shot to the point that he doesn't like me? But Qin Ning didn't care. She calmly walked past the purple-robed middle-aged man, not even glancing at him from the corner of her eyes. In this world she did not care about. If she and Mo she would hua she Mo she would she Mo and family. Qin Ning sat down on the Empress chair in the center of the hall. To her left was Mo Chuan's dragon chair and above that was Empress Dowager Zhou's seat. Beside Mo Chuan's dragon chair, there was a chair with a beautiful drape placed there. Anyone with a discerning eye could immediately tell who this empty chair was prepared for. Chen Ning's eyes swept over the chair, but she still had a faint and elegant smile on her face. Chapter 1348. Empress, this minister hasn't been feeling well recently, so I haven't been able to attend court. I didn't even attend the Empress conferring ceremony, but this minister has heard of the Empress name. I heard that the Empress used to be King Ding Yuan's princess? Now you've jumped up and become the Empress. This minister really admires this kind of ability. Seeing you today, the Empress is truly charming. No wonder the Emperor dotes on you so much. This minister wants to toast the Empress a cup to show my respect. Chen Ning had not been sitting for long when she saw the purple-robed middle-aged man walk out from the table. He walked in front of her and raised the cup in his hand. His voice was loud, and he deliberately raised his voice to speak. The ministers in the hall were talking to each other, but his voice immediately drowned out everyone's voices, and clearly drilled into everyone's ears. As soon as the purple-robed middle-aged man's voice fell, a gasp filled the hall. The ministers all opened their eyes wide as they looked at the purple-robed man in disbelief. The hall, which was originally very lively, instantly became deathly silent. God! His courage was just too big. He could even say this kind of thing? This was simply openly mocking the Empress. Did he not want his head anymore? Or did he not want his title anymore? The ministers were all shouting in their hearts as they looked at the purple-robed man like he was a monster. But there were some people who revealed cold smiles as they looked at Chen Ning like they were watching a good show. Although Xiaoru was not smart, she could still hear that the purple-robed man's words were beautiful, but every word was mocking the young miss. Otherwise he would mention King Ding Yuan in this kind of situation. This was clearly humiliating the young miss in front of everyone. You. Who are you? You dare speak to the Empress like this? Xiaoru took a step forward and stared at the purple-robed middle-aged man. The purple-robed man did not even look at Xiaoru. He just looked at Chen Ning and said with a cold smile, "You're just a maid. What qualifications do you have to shout in front of this duke? Did your master not teach you the rules of the palace?" His words seemed like he was reprimanding Xiaoru, but he was actually slapping Chen Ning's face. Xiaoru's face instantly turned red. She was embarrassed and couldn't help lowering her head and shrinking back. She thought that she had lost face for the young miss in front of everyone again. Chen Ning's eyes swept over the purple-robed man's face. Her lips slightly curled as she revealed a faint cold smile. "You're shouting in front of this princess. Do you understand the rules of the court? This princess maid will naturally be taught by this princess. There is no need for a duke like you to do anything." She leaned back and casually said. Xiaoru's eyes turned red and tears began to form in her eyes. Whenever she was bullied, eldest young miss would always stand by her side, supporting her and helping her vent her anger. Even if she had to die for the young miss, she would be it. Although Chen Ning had never seen the purple-robed man before, seeing his aggressive tone towards her, her heart skipped a beat. She had already guessed his identity. This purple-robed middle-aged man must be Zhao Rongjuanju's biological father, the Duke of Ning bestowed by the Emperor. Like father, like daughter. His daughter was so hateful, and as her father he was just as hateful as his daughter, Zhao Rongjuanju. Chapter 1349. The Empress really is arrogant, not even putting this duke in her eyes. Even the Emperor doesn't use this kind of tone to talk to this duke. Duke Ning stared at Chen Ning and spoke in a cold and arrogant voice, looking like he did not put Chen Ning in his eyes at all. He indeed looked down on Chen Ning at all. He and Chen Ning's father, the country-protecting Duke Xinfang, were both ministers and they were both Westchu ministers, but one was a scholar and one was a military officer, so they were not close to each other. But there was another reason why he dared to publicly attack Chen Ning in front of all the ministers and nobles. His heart ached the most for his precious daughter, Zhao Rong. After waiting for an entire 3 years, his daughter had finally returned to the capital city. This should have been a happy occasion, but who would have thought that his beloved daughter would appear in front of him in such a sorry state? She threw herself into his arms and cried that she had met a swindler on the way back to the capital city. Not only had he been tricked out of his priceless carriage, he had even lost his beloved daughter's life. When Duke Ning heard this, he was filled with rage. He immediately sent out large amounts of people to track down that swindler and gave the order to kill. As long as they found that swindler, they would be executed on the spot and killed without mercy. With his status and power, he could be said to be below one person and above 10,000 people in Westchu. Adding in the fact that he had stood by Empress Dowager Zhou's side in the past, helping Imo Chuan ascend to the throne, and after Imo Chuan ascended to the throne, he was very important to him. He had a high position and a high position. Although he had not gone to court for 3 years because of missing his daughter, in the entire court, no one dared to slight him at all. If he wanted to kill a person, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Not to mention a swindler, even if the person he wanted to kill was an important minister of the court, he had the right to kill first and report later. It was because of this reason that he had the capital and confidence to mock Chen Ning in front of everyone. But the people he sent out were like looking for a needle in a haystack. They could not find the swindler Zhao Rong was talking about. But very quickly the Zhao Rong princess entered the palace and recognized Chen Ning. She told everything that had happened to Duke Ning on the day before the Dragon Boat Festival. In front of Duke Ning she naturally made it sound like she was wronged. She was like a little white flower that had been humiliated. She said that she had not seen her cousin in 3 years and had come to the palace to visit him. Who would have thought that the Empress Chen Ning would suddenly rush in and without a word, she would pour pepper water on her. She even sent the guards to slap her face before chasing her out of the palace. She felt very wronged and went to find the Empress Dowager. Who would have thought that the Empress Chen Ning would not even put the Empress Dowager in her eyes? She chased her to the Peaceful Life Palace and framed her for seducing the Emperor, having an ambiguous relationship with the Emperor. She even brought 2 nannies to examine her body. In the end, they did something during the examination, causing her to lose her innocence. Zhao Rong Junju cried so hard in Duke Ning's arms that she almost fainted. Her tearful complaint, which distorted the truth, was like gunpowder, almost made Duke Ning's stomach explode. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and an overwhelming killing intent and impulse quickly surged up in him. His beloved daughter, who he cherished like a pearl in the palm of his hand, had actually suffered such humiliation and even lost her chastity. This was simply an unbearable monstrous rage. Chapter 1350. Duke Ning almost immediately made up his mind. He must seek justice for his beloved daughter. He must make that Empress pay the price for her actions. Zhao Rong, don't cry. The humiliation you've suffered today, Father will make her repay you 100 times over. He stroked Zhao Rong's hair and spoke in a cold and hard voice. His eyes revealed a cold intent that could not be looked at. The Princess Zhao Rong fell into his embrace and couldn't help revealing a proud smile. She wanted to rely on her own skills to deal with Chen Ning, and she had already used the informants in the Guanyu Palace to complete the first step of her plan. She had placed the catnip powder-coated clothes into Chen Ning's suitcase. But she never thought that the 1,000-faced young master who had been giving her advice would suddenly disappear. It was like he had disappeared from the world, not showing his face at all. This made her that was filled with confidence suddenly lose her backbone. She thought about it and decided to go all out. She added oil to the fire and told her father about how she had been bullied by Chen Ning. As expected, when Duke Ning heard this, his anger could not be suppressed. His entire body was filled with a cold killing intent. The Princess Zhao Rong was secretly proud of herself. Chen Ning, Chen Ning, this princess move is a 2-pronged attack, so you better take it. Duke Ning had ignored the court for 3 years and did not appear in front of the ministers, but he had suddenly appeared at the Dragon Boat Festival banquet. This surprised and delighted all the ministers. They all came forward to greet him, surrounding him like stars surrounding the moon. Before Chen Ning appeared in the Qing and palace, Duke Ning was the leader of everyone and all the ministers followed him. This made him feel proud in his heart, not placing Chen Ning in his eyes at all. What bullshit Empress, even the Emperor was respectful to her. She was just an abandoned woman. Did she really think that she had climbed up a branch and become a phoenix? Not to mention offending his beloved daughter, even if she did not provoke Zhao Rong, he would still look down on this second married woman. He did not know why the Emperor wanted to marry a married woman as the Empress. What part of her was worthy of the Emperor? Duke Ning coldly looked at Chen Ning. Seeing her beautiful face, he gave a cold laugh in his heart. She was just a fox spirit that relied on her beauty to confuse the Emperor's heart. Chen Ning saw his careless tone and arrogant appearance and couldn't help snorting in disdain. She raised the wine cup in front of her and with a gentle cough, she stood up. Duke Ning wants to toast this princess with wine. This is truly this princess' honor. Hearing this, Duke Ning looked up and looked at Chen Ning with a look of disdain. His face was filled with disdain. He gave a snort and raised the wine cup to his lips. Before he could drink it, he heard Chen Ning speak again. It's just that this Empress has a bad habit. When this Empress sees someone who makes this Empress feel nauseous, this Empress won't be able to drink a single drop of wine. This cup of wine has also changed its taste. After she finished speaking, she splashed the wine on the floor and placed the empty cup back on the table. Then she sat back down in her chair. The ministers couldn't help making a sound. The ministers could not their minds and their eyes. Ning mind. But did she know that the person she offended was Duke Ning? But did she know that the person she had offended was Duke Ning? Duke Ning's wine cup stopped by his lips. His face turned hot, and a wave of anger rushed to the top of his head, almost burning in an instant. Chapter 1351. Bastard. Damn. Does this blind woman even know who I am? She actually dared to mock him in front of all the ministers? She even dared to humiliate him in front of everyone? For an instant he really wanted to charge forward and kill this despicable girl. However, he quickly suppressed the anger in his heart. No, he definitely couldn't. Right now in front of everyone in the Qingyan Palace, no matter how angry he was, he definitely could not attack a single finger of the other side. This was because the other side's status was the Empress and he was her minister. If he made a move, he would be committing a great crime of disrespect. Humph. Duke Ning suppressed his anger and gave a heavy snort. He returned to his seat with a dirty face and sat down on his butt, gasping for breath. Very good, he would remember her. This despicable girl had not only humiliated his precious daughter, she had even dared to slap the respected Duke Ning's face. She really was tired of living. But a little impatience would spoil a great plan. If he wanted to deal with her, he needed to think about it carefully. Duke Ning quickly calmed down. He ignored the greetings of the ministers around him and continued to drink. The more wine he drank, the colder and sharper his eyes became. Xiao Ru saw that the young miss had mercilessly given Duke Ning the cold shoulder. She felt very happy in her heart, but she was also worried for the young miss. Only now did she know that this arrogant and despotic purple-robed man was Zhao Rong Juanju's biological father. Thus, she raised her voice so that everyone present could hear her. Sure enough, dragons give birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, and mice give birth to sons that can dig holes. She thought that the young miss had offended Duke Ning because of her, so no matter what, she had to take the blame for this on herself. Pah! Duke Ning was filled with rage. He slammed his wine cup onto the ground and glared at Xiao Ru with a murderous gaze. The Empress did not put him in her eyes and even the maid by her side did not put him in her eyes. If he did not teach this maid a lesson, he would lose face in front of all the ministers, who would follow him in the future. At this time Chen Ning turned around and smiled at Xiao Ru. She praised, "Well said. Truly worthy of my teachings. Come Xiao Ru, this cup of wine is for you to drink. In the future you can say whatever you want and do whatever you want. Even if the sky falls down, this princess will be here for you." She personally poured a cup of wine and gave it to Xiao Ru. Xiao Ru had never drunk wine before, but after being praised by Chen Ning, her chest filled with pride. She took the cup and drank it all in one gulp. Her little face turned red and her eyes filled with tears. "Young miss, why is this wine so spicy?" Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue. Chen Ning revealed a smile. Her eyes drifted over Duke Ning's direction, but she did not look at his face at all. This was blatant contempt and provocation. Duke Ning and the ministers all understood that Chen Ning's words were meant for Duke Ning to hear. She was supporting her maid. Peng? Duke Ning clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the table with all his might, causing the cups and plates to clatter. Then he suddenly stood up. Because the rage in his chest was becoming stronger and stronger, he almost couldn't suppress it anymore. No, definitely not. Duke Ning's heart was suddenly alerted. He thought that he had almost fallen for the other side's provocation. Chapter 1352. Duke Ning's eyes slightly narrowed and a blade-like glow shot out at Chen Ning. This girl, she looks innocent and harmless, but her stomach is full of twists and turns. How could Zhao Rong be a match for her? Even I almost fell for her trap. Humph, I really underestimated her. But, so what if her schemes are deep? I still need to let her know how strong I am. As he pondered, he saw the gazes of the courtiers looking at him. He shouted at the attendants around him, "What are you doing here? Do you servants not have eyes? This duke's wine cup has fallen, why aren't you bringing a new one for this duke?" Yes, yes. The palace servants serving wine at the side had long felt the tension in the hall. They all shrunk their necks and didn't dare to breathe, afraid that they would become scapegoats if they didn't show any mercy. At this time, hearing Duke Ning's scolding, a palace maid hurriedly brought over a new wine cup and poured wine for him. Humph, a group of blind servants. This duke has been sick for 3 years and you all don't even put this duke in your eyes, daring to neglect me like this. The dirty hands of your servants are not fit to pour wine for this duke. Duke Ning did not even look at the wine the maid poured for him. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw the cup to the ground. The maid kneeled down in fear as her face turned pale. Everyone in the hall who had ears could hear his indirect scolding of the locust tree. Duke Ning was scolding the servants, but he was actually pointing the spear at the Empress. Everyone knew this in their hearts. They secretly looked at each other as they were filled with confusion. Duke Ning had ignored the court for 3 years, but today he had appeared to oppose the Empress. The two of them were attacking each other. What was the reason for this? Did the two of them have a grudge against each other? But when everyone thought about it, they understood. Duke Ning was doing this to clear the obstacles for his daughter to sit on the throne of the Empress. Everyone was sweeping the snow in front of their door. Who cared about the frost on other people's roofs? They just needed to watch the show, talk less and eat more. Don't provoke a louse that can't be shaken off for no reason. The ministers all lowered their heads as if they did not feel the tense atmosphere in the hall. The divine doctor of the ancient era has arrived. Suddenly, the sharp voice of a eunuch came from the entrance of the hall. Duke Ning was sitting calmly in his chair, but when he heard this, he suddenly stood up. His face was filled with excitement and disbelief as he looked in the direction of the entrance. He got up too quickly and fiercely, causing the chair to fall to the ground with a clang, making a loud noise. The ministers all turned to look at the source of the sound. Everyone revealed a confused look as they followed Duke Ning's gaze to the entrance of the hall. Ancient Divine Doctor. What ancient divine doctor? Who was this person that could actually make Duke Ning, who would remain calm and collected even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, so agitated that he lost his composure? They saw a young man in a wheelchair slowly appear in front of everyone. He was only in his 20s and had a delicate and pretty face. He wore a half-worn linen gown and was dressed very simply. However, his entire body exuded an aura of being aloof from the world. He was like an orchid that grew in a valley, proud and independent. Qin Ning's eyes sparkled. She had already heard from Gu Qingze that he was coming to the palace banquet, but she never thought that he would actually come. Chapter 1353. Duke Ning took quick steps forward to welcome him. He no longer had the domineering and arrogant appearance from before. Instead, he had a face full of smiles. His smile was like a flower, causing the officials to think that they were seeing things and couldn't help but rub their eyes. Divine Dr. Gu, this Duke is honored to have you come. I hope that Divine Dr. Gu does not take offense that I was unable to welcome you earlier. His words were said humbly and respectfully. His intention to curry favor was clear in his words. The courtiers all stared with wide eyes in shock. They stared unblinkingly at Gu Qingze, but no one recognized who this young man sitting in the chair was. He could actually make the arrogant Duke Ning speak to him in such a condescending tone. They believed that even if the emperor came, Duke Ning would not act so humbly. Could this young man's background be greater than the emperor's? Duke Ning personally sent an invitation. With such great face, how could Qingze not come? Duke Ning does not need to be so courteous, Gu Qingze said with an indifferent expression. Hearing this, Duke Ning was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He personally stepped forward and pushed Gu Qingze's wheelchair into the main hall. Then he said in a clear voice to all the officials in the hall, "Colleagues, today this Duke would like to introduce to everyone the #1 divine doctor in the world, Divine Dr. Gu Qingze." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a burst of surprised exclamations in the hall. All the courtiers in the hall could not help but stand up. The title of the #1 divine doctor in the world was too famous. Not a single one of them didn't know of it. But no one would have thought that Duke Ning would have such great face to be able to invite this #1 divine doctor to the palace to attend Zhao Rong Juanju's birthday banquet. This was an incomparable honor and face. No wonder the arrogant Duke Ning was so careful and humble in front of this young man. Even their hearts itched and wanted to go up and curry favor with the #1 divine doctor. But seeing Duke Ning firmly gripping the back of Gu Qingze's chair and looking down on the world, everyone understood that this Duke Ning was clearly using this #1 divine doctor as a rare commodity. How could he allow them to get close? I've heard of the great name of Divine Dr. Gu. Seeing you today, you truly live up to your reputation. To be able to see the golden face of Divine Dr. Gu, this is the fortune of 3 lifetimes. I heard that Divine Dr. Gu's medical skills are divine. He is truly like an immortal. Duke Ning's face is still great to invite the #1 divine doctor. Amazing, amazing. The courtiers swarmed forward, surrounding Gu Qingze in the middle. Words of flattery and fawning lingered in his ears. Gu Qingze's face was expressionless, as if he hadn't heard the flattery of the crowd at all. His eyes were slightly closed and he completely ignored them. Duke Ning smiled and said, "It is a pleasant surprise for Divine Physician Gu to attend my daughter's banquet. Everyone, please make way and let Divine Physician Gu rest and have a few cups of wine." The more Gu Qingze ignored the officials, the happier he was. He knew that Gu Qingze's temperament was very eccentric. Gu Qingze had always been blunt with people and things that he didn't like. The fact that Gu Qingze was able to appear here today was enough to show how much he valued him. Chapter 1354. When the courtiers heard Duke Ning's words, they all opened up a path for him. Duke Ning personally pushed Gu Qingze over to his seat and said to Gu Qingze with a smile, "Divine Dr. Gu, is it alright if you sit next to this duke?" His seat was right under the Princess Zhao Rong, and it could be said that other than the royal family, it was the most distinguished and conspicuous seat in the hall. It was only a step away from Chen Ning's seat, so it could be seen that he had an important position in the court. Gu Qingze gave a slight nod and did not have any objections. "That's fine." Duke Ning revealed a look of joy. He never thought that Gu Qingze's attitude towards him would be this different. He was cold and indifferent to the ministers around him, but the way he spoke to him could be considered kind. He immediately turned to the eunuchs and shouted, "Why aren't you preparing the best tableware for the divine Dr. Gu and bringing out the best wine and fruits?" The eunuchs and palace maids didn't dare to be negligent. They immediately brought over a table carved from a whole piece of red sandalwood. The cups, plates, and bowls that were brought up were also completely different from those of the ministers. It could be said that they enjoyed the same highest treatment as Duke Ning. Duke Ning picked up the wine jug and personally poured a cup of wine for Gu Qingze. Gu Qingze sat in the chair and his lips curled up as he revealed a faint smile. "I, Gu Qingze, am just a commoner with no official duties, but the Duke is an important minister of the country with a high position. You are below one person and above tens of thousands of people, but the Duke is personally pouring wine for this commoner. How could this commoner dare accept this?" Chen Ning found that his mouth was just being modest, but he did not even lift his butt from the chair and did not have any intentions of standing up to receive the wine cup. That carefree appearance almost made her break out in laughter. Xiaoru couldn't hold it in and gave a G laugh. When Duke Ning heard this laugh, his face turned dark and he glared at Xiaoru. But in front of Gu Qingze, he couldn't be angry right now. He pretended not to hear it and the smile on his face did not decrease at all. The divine Dr. Gu is too polite. The divine doctor's medical skills are #1 in the world and everyone respects him. Being able to pour a cup of wine for the divine Dr. Gu is this duke's honor. This is a fine wine that has been stored in the palace for several decades. It is not something normal people can taste and it is very mellow. Dr. Gu, please have a taste. He saw that Gu Qingze did not have any intentions of raising the cup, so he personally picked up the wine cup and placed it in front of Gu Qingze. This action made all the ministers click their tongues. God! How much face did he have to enjoy such treatment from Duke Ning? This ancient divine doctor was really amazing. However, Gu Qingze raised his hand and blocked the wine cup that Duke Ning had brought to his face. He said expressionlessly, "Thank you for your kind intentions, High Duke, but I don't drink alcohol." Duke Ning's face stiffened, and his hand that was holding the wine cup stopped in the air. He didn't know whether he should pass it forward or withdraw it. Ning is, he is, and is, Ning is. High Duke, please don't misunderstand. I practice medicine and never touch alcohol. This is because my hand holding the needle will be unstable after drinking, and I won't be able to perform acupuncture on the patient. Gu Qingze looked at him and then said in a soft voice. Duke Ning's heart calmed down and he laughed as he said, "So it's like this. Someone, quickly take away the wine and replace it with the best fruit juice." The ministers all revealed a knowing smile. Chapter 1355. If one was courteous to others, they must have a request. This divine doctor of ancient times was known as the #1 divine doctor in the world, and Duke Ning was so courteous to him, it was clear that he had a request. Duke Ning definitely wanted to ask the divine doctor to diagnose his illness. This was like a louse on a monk's head, it was obvious. Everyone couldn't help but think. Duke Ning hadn't gone to court for 3 years and had been resting at home. Everyone said that he missed his daughter so much that he fell ill. But once Zhao Rong Junju returned to the capital, his illness was immediately cured. When they saw him today, his face was glowing and he was in high spirits. He didn't look like he was suffering from a serious illness. But if Duke Ning wasn't seeking treatment, then why was he currying favor with divine doctor of ancient times? Everyone couldn't guess the reason and pricked up their ears to listen to the conversation between Duke Ning and Gu Qingze. Duke Ning personally poured a cup of bright red fruit juice and delivered it in front of Gu Qingze. "Many thanks, Duke Ning Darren." Gu Qingze had been sitting in the chair the whole time. He bowed slightly and took the cup. Ever since he entered the hall, his butt hadn't left the chair. In the eyes of everyone, they all thought that his legs were inconvenient, that he was disabled, or that his feet were seriously injured. Duke Ning also muttered in his heart, "Since he's called the #1 divine doctor, could it be that he can't even cure the illness in his legs? And he's so young, could it be that he doesn't have an undeserved reputation?" He decided to test the waters. 10 years ago, this duke had heard of the great name of divine doctor of ancient times. It was like thunder piercing my ears. Seeing you today, it really is better to meet you in person. The grace of divine doctor of ancient times has truly made this duke look at you in a different light. This duke greatly admires divine doctor's medical skills. This cup of wine will first be a toast to divine doctor to show my respect. Duke Ning raised his wine cup and raised it towards Gu Qingze with a smile. Even though his words were beautiful and pleasing to the ear, those who were a bit smarter could hear the deeper meaning in his words. Now it seemed that Gu Qingze was only in his early 20s. How old could he have been 10 years ago? He was just a child in his teens and he actually enjoyed the title of the #1 divine doctor? If he wasn't a swindler, then he was a swindler who deceived the world. If this young man in front of him was a real divine doctor, then after hearing Duke Ning's probing words, he would probably show his true skills to prove his identity. Gu Qingze raised his cup of fruit juice and drank it all in one gulp before putting the cup down. "Many thanks for the duke's praise, this commoner doesn't dare accept it." After he said this, he folded his sleeves and did not say a single word. This action was out of everyone's expectations. The courtiers couldn't help but speculate that there was a 70 to 80% chance that this so-called divine doctor was a swindler. This was because he did not dare to show in front of everyone? He was clearly had a guilty conscience. Duke Ning was also stunned. His eyes that were looking at Gu Qingze narrowed slightly, revealing a sharp glint. He now realized that he, who had seen countless people, could not see through the depth of this young man. If one were to say that he was arrogant and rude, he would answer all his questions. His attitude was not very earnest, but it was not rude either. King Ning's words. 1-1 but 1 Ning he was not, 1-1-1-1-1 was 1-1-1. Ning Guogongjing was prepared to say a few more words to test Gu Qingze, but he saw Gu Qingze suddenly raise his eyes and look over everyone in the hall. His eyes passed over Qin Ning's face and did not stop at all, as if he did not recognize her at all. Chapter 1356. The Dragon Boat Festival banquet was set to begin at noon. At this time all the invited ministers had arrived and it was already past noon, but Empress Dowager Zhou Mo Chuan and the Zhao Rong princess were still nowhere to be seen. Could something have happened? The ministers were already wondering in their hearts, but because of Gu Qingze's sudden arrival, everyone's attention was attracted and they completely forgot about this matter. With Gu Qingze mentioning it at this time, even Duke Ning felt this was strange. Quickly go and see what's going on. He turned to the eunuch beside him and scolded him in a low voice. The eunuch quickly obeyed and left. Ning did not feel this was strange. It was the Zhao Rong princess' birthday banquet. If she didn't play some tricks, she really wouldn't be her. Her guess was right, this was the Zhao Rong princess' idea. She purposely came late, wanting everyone to wait for her and then appear in front of everyone's eyes. After noon, a eunuch finally appeared at the entrance of the Qingyan palace while gasping for breath. He shouted in a sharp voice. The Empress Dowager has arrived. The Emperor has arrived. The Zhao Rong princess has arrived. The hall was filled with awe. Everyone stood up and looked at the entrance of the hall. They saw Mo Chuan and the Zhao Rong princess supporting Empress Dowager Zhou on the left and right, appearing in front of everyone. Greetings to the Emperor, greetings to the Empress Dowager, greetings to the Zhao Rong princess. The ministers all bowed down, welcoming Mo Chuan and Empress Dowager Zhou's arrival. Even Ning stood up from her seat and bowed down in Empress Dowager Zhou's direction. The Zhao Rong princess' eyes were filled with pride as she looked over at Ning. She supported Empress Dowager Zhou and proudly accepted everyone's bow. So what if you're the Empress? Aren't you still bowing down to this princess? No need to be so polite. Empress Dowager Zhou was clearly in a good mood today. She had a warm smile on her face as she held Mo Chuan in one hand and the Zhao Rong princess in the other. She smiled as she walked to the seats with the support of the two of them. The three of them sat down. Everyone, don't stand on ceremony. Sit. Empress Dowager Zhou spoke with a smile. Her face was glowing, not looking sick at all. This made Ning even more certain that Empress Dowager Zhou's illness yesterday was just an excuse to keep Mo Chuan here. She slightly looked up at Mo Chuan and Mo Chuan was also looking at her. The two of them looked at each other. Mo Chuan's eyes were very complicated, filled with deep affection and apology. Ning revealed a faint smile and winked at Mo Chuan, meaning that she understood everything. Mo Chuan's heart relaxed and he revealed a faint smile to her. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Only the scene of their eyes meeting was seen by the Zhao Rong princess. The handkerchief in her hand was crumpled into a ball and a dark look flashed in her eyes, but she quickly looked away from Ning. King little slut, this Princess Chuan, this princess he's Chong. Emperor spirit is Ling and I will. Dower. Qin I Chuan Ling Shiyu Dao Qin Mo Yang I Jias Qin I Dowager Chu Jia and 1 and I Dowager I is you and. After Empress Dowager Zhou sat down, she looked around the hall with a curious look on her face. Chapter 1357. Duke Ning revealed a faint smile and came forward to greet Empress Dowager Zhou. He said with a smile, Empress Dowager, this minister has invited an esteemed guest today. This guest's identity is not normal. The Empress Dowager will be very happy if she knows. Empress Dowager Zhou said with a smile, oh, which esteemed guest is it? She followed Duke Ning's gaze and saw Gu Qingze. She was a bit stunned, thinking that this person was very young and unfamiliar. He was wearing a commoner's clothing and was actually sitting next to Duke Ning. He had a calm expression on his face, not showing any fear at all. She noticed that everyone had stood up and bowed to the three of them. Only this young man was sitting arrogantly in his chair and did not even lift his butt. Could it be that the esteemed guest Duke Ning was talking about was this fellow who didn't understand etiquette at all? She felt a bit of displeasure towards Gu Qingze in her heart and the smile on her face faded a bit. She heard Duke Ning reach out to Gu Qingze and say with a smile, I believe the Empress Dowager has heard of the #1 divine doctor in the world. The so-called hearing is not as good as seeing. That #1 divine doctor is the ancient divine doctor in front of us, Mr. Gu. Hearing this, Empress Dowager Zhou was shocked. She stood up in surprise and asked, it's him? Although she had heard from Mo Chuan that they had invited the #1 divine doctor to cure Chu Xiaobai, she never thought that this young man was that famous divine doctor. He was this young, how could he have this kind of fame? How could he have the ability to bring someone back from the dead? Was he a swindler? Chuan, is this really the ancient divine doctor? Empress Dowager Zhou slightly turned her head and asked Mo Chuan for confirmation. When Mo Chuan saw Gu Qingze appear at the banquet, he was also surprised, but he never showed his emotions. His eyes looked over Gu Qingze's face, but there was nothing strange on his face. He replied, that's right, this is the ancient divine doctor. Empress Dowager Zhou gave an oh sound. She held the armrest of the chair and slowly sat down. She gave a slight nod to Gu Qingze, I've long heard of the ancient divine doctor's name. Seeing you today, you really are a talented person. She had never personally seen Gu Qingze's medical skills, so she didn't know how to praise him. She could only vaguely praise him as a talented person. Chen Ning secretly laughed in her stomach. She slightly lowered her head, not letting the others see the smile on her face. Mo Chuan noticed her small movements and secretly said, "Greetings, Empress Dowager Zhou, Empress Zhou." Gu Qingze stood up from the chair and said to Empress Dowager Zhou, "Greetings to the Empress Dowager." After he saluted, he sat back in his chair and shut his mouth, not saying a word. Divine Dr. Gu, my daughter is still a child and speaks without thinking. She is not sensible and offended you with her words. Please don't take it to heart. I apologize on her behalf. She doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't, but she doesn't. His status was honorable, and in the entire hall, other than a few people, he was the only one with a high rank. Yet, he actually bowed and apologized to a young man who didn't even have the slightest official position, causing all the officials to be greatly shocked. If it was anyone else seeing Duke Ning bow to them, they would have a look of fear as they stood up to return the bow. Chapter 1359. This time, no matter how good Duke Ning's temperament was, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. He thought to himself, I'm the Duke of the Imperial Court and you're just a commoner. When I salute you, it's out of politeness, but you actually accept it so honestly. Do you really think I'm a soft persimmon that you can bully? If Zhao Rong is right and you are a swindler, then wouldn't it be annoying for this Duke to lower his voice to you like this? He straightened his back and his voice was filled with a bit of arrogance and impoliteness. Divine Dr. Gu, although my daughter is young, she is very straightforward and says whatever she wants to say. She suspects that Divine Dr. Gu has an undeserved reputation, so why doesn't Divine Dr. Gu show off your miraculous medical skills in front of everyone? It will also shut my daughter's mouth, letting her know what it means to be a frog at the bottom of a well and what it means to judge a person by their appearance. Even Chen Ning secretly admired his speaking skills. He really was worthy of being Zhao Rong's daughter's father. He really was an incomparably sly old fox. The gazes of everyone in the hall turned towards Gu Qingze in unison, waiting to see how he would answer. If he didn't show off his skills, it was already 100% certain that he was a swindler. Even Empress Dowager Zhou revealed an interested gaze as she looked at Gu Qingze. It was because the #1 divine doctor in the world was too famous and Gu Qingze was too young, which was why everyone was questioning him. Out of everyone here, only Mo Chuan, Chen Ning and Xiao Ru had personally witnessed Gu Qingze's miraculous medical skills, so they were completely convinced by him. This kind of questioning, Gu Qingze had heard it countless times in the past 10 years. He had already heard it so many times that his ears had already grown calluses. If it was normal times he would not care. Since you're questioning me, then don't come to see me. You want me to show off my skills? Who do you think you are? He would have already patted his butt and left. But today he slowly put down his cup, raised his eyelids and lazily glanced at Duke Ning. Sir Duke, you want this commoner to show off his medical skills? Divine Dr. Gu, please show off your skills and open this little girl's eyes. Duke Ning said with a faint smile. Alright, since it's like this commoner will show off his skills. Gu Qingze nodded. Chen Ning knew that Gu Qingze had a strange temper and would turn hostile with a single word. Yesterday she had only mentioned Mo Chuan and Gu Qingze had already lost his temper and kicked her out. Today in the palace he did not even look at her, like he did not know her at all. Seeing him agree to Duke Ning's question without any hesitation at this time, she couldn't help being surprised. After looking at it a few times, he hid it in his bosom as if it was a precious treasure. Then he thanked Gu Qingze profusely. Quite a few of the older officials present were deeply troubled by hair loss. However, hair loss was not an illness, but it was a fatal problem. Regardless of whether it was an imperial physician or the most famous doctor in the capital, they were all helpless against the problem of hair loss. At this time, when they saw that the official actually had the prescription to cure hair loss, they were all envious and jealous of him. They couldn't wait to snatch the prescription from his arms. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.